It's Christmas weekend. A very good morning to you on this Friday. We hope that, well, all preparations are in place and you're ready for celebrating the wonderful weekend ahead of us. Peaceful with your own family. Elvis, what are your plans heading into the weekend?
Well, it will be fairly quiet. Have a lovely little dinner planned, and of course, some lunch in the afternoon. But that's about it. And you?
Yeah, same thing. Getting all the clan together, having a square meal. Everyone's going to try and outdo each other with who's going to bring the best dish, that kind of thing. I can't really do with much more feeding, but it's probably going to be that kind of weekend.
It's going to be that kind of weekend.
Anyhow, we've got a very serious issue that we're on top of today, mind you. Culture of fear here in the communities, some of the communities with regards to gangs.
With all the festivities running up to Christmas, you would expect that there would be no fear in a community like that, but Westbury has got some fear. 30 people died since August this year already. 30 people has died.
30 people.
And it's a very concerning thing, and there's apparently there's gang violence that's happening in the community. We'll explore that this morning because that's our theme. But we're asking a question out there to all of you out there. You can join in the conversation. We're asking you, how do we free our communities from gangsterism?
Yeah, it's a scourge that has our communities gripped in fear. Actually, the scary thing that stood out of the work that we've been doing on this show is the fact that heading into this weekend, communities are gripped with fear, fearing a deadly weekend, fearing that they could get caught in the crossfire and the like. Actually, some of them feel like they have to change their behavior a little bit. So that's our question of the day. How do we get out of this in our communities? Anyhow, it's Christmas weekend, so we've also been running a poll. We're having a little bit of fun with you. You can be honest. You can tweet us also on this question, Albert.
Yeah, because we know that you've spent a lot of money out there. So during the Christmas, so we're asking you this morning: has Christmas drained your wallet already? Well, you can let us know. And 63% even are saying yes, it has. That wallet is as flat as anything else. It's like a credit card right now.
It's been run over by a car. That wallet, it seems. And don't spend money if you don't have it. There's always a temptation. 90 votes are in. About 2/3 of people are broken already. Yes, that's about the state of the game. But let's take a look at some of your tweets on this question. Has Christmas drained your wallet already?
This one from Siafana says, yes, but my wallet is not empty because I still have bonus money in my account. Now, that's a clever man out there, hey?
Yeah, remind me of working class problems. The bonus always is, isn't it?
Yes.
Diego talks about, my wallet was drained at Easter already. Yeah, Diego, thanks for having a sense of humor about it. That's what it's about. We know that times are tough, and it's that time of the year where we all have to kind of show our love through the gifts. Yes, they tell you, no, don't worry about the gifts, but they expect a gift, because if you don't bring something, Elvis.
I tell you, and January is ahead. They call it January. So don't put your worries in January. Save your money right now so you can have some in January.
Well, that's where we are today. Send us your tweets, even if it's just a Christmas message that you want to forward to some of the staff members here or anyone elsewhere watching in the country. Please do so. We're trying to spread a little bit of cheer. But first, let's get the morning's news with us.
Acting Police Commissioner Komotso Patlani has promised South Africans that they will be protected in malls despite robberies in some of them across the country. The Police Minister Nathi Nhleko has mooted the idea of drunk driving being classified as a serious criminal offence. And the UN Security Council reiterates its request to outgoing Gambian President Jammeh to respect the country's constitution and respect the results of the presidential elections. Now, those are all your headlines, but let's start off with our top story this morning. The Acting Police Commissioner Komotso Patlani says that officers will monitor various malls across the country to protect shoppers during the festive season. He says the effectiveness of policing should not be judged by sporadic criminal acts. Yesterday, he toured some shopping malls in Gauteng to promote visible policing.
With Christmas euphoria peaking, so is the need to intensify safety, especially in the country's malls and shopping centers. Police presence has been increased as part of the Back to Basics approach. This is to improve visibility, enhance policing and curb various crimes which tend to spike during the festive season.
The malls are an area of focus because many of our people converge in the malls to do business. So we thought it is important that we deploy our members in numbers to create that conducive environment for people to do shopping. It is our resolve to bring down the crime levels down, and this is one area where we feel that we can make a contribution.
The top cop assured shoppers at an Attridgeville center they would be safe during this season and beyond. He then proceeded to the Mall of Africa in Midrand. Mulemo Onemotwa, SABC News, Pretoria.
Now, as traffic volumes pick up ahead of Christmas and New Year celebrations, police are deployed across the country's roads. Now, this was evident on the N1 between Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal, where the Minister of Police, Nathi Nhleko, joined operations yesterday. The men and women in blue made 2 arrests and impounded a dozen minibus taxis.
Busted. At least 2 people traveling in minibus taxis from KwaZulu-Natal to Mpumalanga were nabbed here. A police search revealed dagga stashed in their luggage. The roadblock put up between the 2 provinces also saw a number of minibuses being impounded and a police officer arrested for drunk driving.
Regardless of your station in life, we are all equal before the law. So you are not going to have a situation where, because it so happens that you are a member of the police service and you are found to be on the wrong side of the law and we do nothing about that, no, it can't be correct.
The stop and search operations will continue until January. Commuters and drivers have mixed feelings about the operation.
I like what government is doing. It will stop overloads and accidents.
I think it's very good. It's actually comforting to see that there's so much police activity around as well, because I'm coming back from Durban now, and on the way there was lots of activity around and keeping the roads safe.
Drivers who are found to have warrants of arrest against their names are either given a choice to be arrested or pay up front. They can either pay using cash or this card machine here on the road. Sibongile Mkanimbolweni, SABC News, Charlestown in KwaZulu-Natal.
Well, the ANC in the Western Cape says it's considering laying in a complaint with the Human Rights Commission against the Premier, Helen Zille. Now, this after a tweet by Zille caused a stir on social media on Wednesday. Zille was responding to the bungalow restaurant issue where a waiter had identified patrons as 2 blacks on their bill.
Premier Helen Zille is alleged to have sent the offensive tweet just after 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. In it, she asked, "Why is it okay to racially classify people for jobs, but not to identify people at a table by their race?" The tweet, which was removed shortly thereafter, wasn't well received, with some respondents, including the ANC in the province, questioning Zille's understanding of the country's race dynamics.
We want to package all these issues that Helen Zille has been saying that are offensive, that are racist, having jumped herself into Twitter and dumping down and being silly. We want to package all those things and then seek advice. What do these things constitute? Can we, as a premier of a province, can we take these issues to a higher authority?
In an SMS response to the SABC, Zille denied having made any racially offensive statement. She says, "There's not a single racist thing I have said anywhere. Quite the contrary. I am totally opposed to race profiling and I call out people who are selective about it." It seems the DA agrees.
The Premier is trying to engage in a serious conversation about race. And if we want to have a serious conversation about race, then let's have an honest conversation about race and let's not be partial about it.
It's still unclear when the ANC will approach the Human Rights Commission with its complaint. Lukhanya Khalada, SABC News, Parliament.
The United Nations Security Council has reiterated their request to the outgoing Gambian President Yahya Jammeh to respect the results of the presidential election. Now, they want him to transfer power to President-elect Adama Barrow by the 19th of February 2017 in accordance with the Gambian constitution.
On the 10th of December, the UN Security Council condemned outgoing President Yahya Jammeh's rejection of the election results and urged all parties to refrain from violence.
El Consejo de Seguridad reitera su solicitud.
The Security Council reiterates its request to outgoing President Jammeh and the relevant Gambian authorities to fully respect the result of the presidential election, to respect the will of the Gambian people, and to carry out a peaceful and orderly transition process, and to transfer power to President-elect Adam Barrow in accordance with the Gambian Constitution.
President Jammeh, who took power in a coup in 1994, initially conceded defeat in the December 1st election, then later changed his mind. Regional bloc ECOWAS hopes diplomacy can persuade President Jammeh to step down. Neighboring Senegal has indicated that military action would be the last resort.
The Security Council commends the initiatives of ECOWAS, including the visit of an ECOWAS and UN high-level delegation in Banjul, led by Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President of the Republic of Liberia, and Chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority aimed at ensuring a peaceful and orderly transition process in the Gambia.
President Jammeh has vowed to stay in power when his mandate ends in January.
The abuse of state security organs to fight political battles has reached the worst level since the transition into democracy in 1994. Now, these conflicts have spilled over into organs of the South African state security cluster. The effect of the misuse of such institutions has led to a turbulent political climate in the country.
This country adheres to the Constitution and the law, the rule of law. No individual is given a right within that to interfere with independent processes and decisions of independent institutions. I think if this president was to interfere in any matter, either of Chapter 9 institutions or other institutions, then it would be closer to a banana republic.
A well-functioning government is a government that is not at war with itself. Where there are differences, we must be able to resolve these through dialogue and cooperation.
Words in defense of the image and integrity of state security organs. In 2016, the country witnessed such institutions being unleashed in political turf wars. Topping that list is the Hawks' bitter feud with Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. President Jacob Zuma has repeatedly denied claims that the Hawks are targeting Gordhan, so that those trying to seize control of state resources may gain unchallenged access to the treasury. Zuma's reshuffling of Gordhan to the Ministry of Cooperative Governance and then back to finance has only fueled that speculation. Gordhan also locked horns with the Hawks in 2016. Both the ANC and the SA Communist Party have publicly lashed him for refusing to answer Hawks' questions on the so-called SARS rogue unit. Another feud which grabbed the headlines is Hawks boss, Lieutenant General Mthandazo Ntlemeza versus former Independent Police Investigative Directorate boss Robert McBride. It arose when McBride ignored a Hawks request for a statement relating to alleged rendition crimes committed on Zimbabwean nationals during questioning. McBride reportedly stated the Hawks' investigation was in response to IPID having taken its warning statement from Hawks boss Ntlemeza in an investigation against him. A close Ntlemeza ally, Gauteng Hawks boss Prince Mukotedi, later launched his own probe into McBride's public statements against the Hawks. Mukotedi laid 9 charges, including treason, against Robert McBride and 3 others. Further compounding matters was Police Minister Nathi Nhleko entering the fray. Nhleko drew public criticism after initially blocking McBride's return to office, citing alleged irregularities. But the Constitutional Court intervened by ruling that Nhleko did not have the legal power to suspend McBride, paving the way for him to return to office in October. Dumala Mohlaudi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, that's your news for now, but we have a serious question that we pose to you today, because as we ramp towards Christmas, there's almost like a feeling of the grip of fear gripping the communities in Westbury, south of Johannesburg, southwest of Johannesburg. So we're asking you the question, how do we free our communities from gangsterism. You can let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom. That's as well as the Facebook page. But let's now go over to Eben to start off that conversation.
Yeah, obviously it is a concern. It's something that, well, something has flared up again this week. Of course, I can report to you that fear has once again gripped the communities of New Clare and Westbury, west of Johannesburg. This after 4 boys were wounded in yet another apparent drug-related shooting. Now, one of the boys escaped unharmed when a group of suspected gang members shot at them for no apparent reason. More than 30 people have been killed in drug-related shootings in Westbury since August of this year alone. More police officers have since been deployed to the area now to talk about the gang violence in and around Westbury. We are joined by the MEC for Community Safety in Gauteng, Sizake Elenkosi Malobane. A very good morning to you, ma'am, and thank you for being with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
I followed you quite closely this week because I was concerned about what's going on in the communities. You visited Westbury a couple of times. You've had discussions with the community there. Just paint us a quick overview. How desperate is the situation there right now?
I think the situation at the moment is under control. We have deployed enough police personnel that can be able to stop the violence that is happening in the area. But I've also interacted with the community leaders, and on Monday night I met with the men of Westbury, Bosmont, New Clare, and some of them are from Rivali, to try and come up with a solution to this problem. And on Tuesday, I then met with women of that particular community who walked the street, reclaiming the street back to the community. But I think the situation, we can't afford to have more than 4 people dying in 3 months in one community.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely, especially at this time of the year when people want to be a little bit more peaceful, and it always seems to be a spike in the situation. The thing for me that stands out is that the gangs in these areas, they're well rooted in the communities, and at times one gets the idea that the communities even cooperate with them because there's a Robin Hood element with some of these gang leaders, isn't there?
Yes, I think the challenges of Westbury or any other township in this country is actually the triple challenges. There's problems of unemployment, there's problem of poverty, and obviously gangsters, drug dealers will want to exploit that particular situation. But that doesn't actually justify why people should not come forward when they see some crime activities happening in their community. The serious problem that we have in Westbury and other neighboring townships is that people do come forward and report the crime, but when they are supposed to testify in court during trials, they withdraw.
Yeah.
And that leads to people being released in court. And sometimes, as the police, we have actually invested a lot of money in making sure that we win the case and take the perpetrator into prison for a very long time. And when people are bought, we actually get disappointed because that's when they withdraw. And in most cases, it's not even a lot of money. You'll find that there are allegations that some of them will be given 3,000 rand or 5,000 rand, and immediately they then refuse to testify. And sometimes they refuse to testify when a perpetrator have killed or attacked their own family members.
Yeah, that is a grave concern if one understands how these kind of communities operate. Now, I look at some of the footage and I see a lot of the gang members, like we see in places like Cape Town, are becoming younger and younger. Are you concerned about that?
I'm very much concerned. In January, I will be spending a whole week as opposed to 1 day in schools. We want to make sure that we target all schools in those four areas. It's not only Westbury. There's New Clare, there's Bosmont, there's Rivali. Those areas, if you target one area, the crime get displaced to another. So you need to go in and actually target all four all 4 areas in order to be able to effectively fight gangsterism and drugs in the area. So we'll be spending a week with other departments, Department of Education, Department of Social Development, and myself. We'll also be having a principal breakfast to try and see if we can come up with a solution to the problems of those 4 areas. But I've also requested the leadership, and I'm being very specific. I hope I won't sound like other leaders. We are going to have a colored community leaders convention where we'll have to come up with solution. Where, you know, people say nothing without us, nothing for us without us. So we want to involve them in order for us to come with permanent solution to the problems of those townships. I'm not saying other areas there are no problems, but we can't keep on going to one area. In a year, I've been there 4 times. And there are other areas that I need to service. And the problems are the same. It's gangsterism and drugs. And I think it is important that we go in and try and address the social problems in that community.
Absolutely. That's the medium and longer term plan that looks to be well underway. The community, though, they fear a very deadly couple of weeks ahead because of it being the festive season, and idle hands always lead to a lot more trouble in our communities, as I think your experience tells you. What's your plan for the next couple of weeks to make sure that we don't see more loss of life in the immediate term?
Okay, we have deployed enough officers. We've actually deployed more than 100 officers that are not from that police precinct, and we believe with the TRT there and some members of POPs as well as ordinary police officers, we will be able to control the situation. But we don't need short-term solutions for that community. We need a permanent solution. Hence, one is going to actually spend some time with that community in order for us to find a permanent solution.
Our viewers are tweeting us, ma'am, and I'd maybe like you to have a look at it. Maybe you can talk to the tweets, what people are saying, maybe to you, maybe to me. Mr. Sali says, criminalization for gang affiliation. Special gang prisons should separate all inmates. What do you say to that?
In prison, inmates are actually separated, but as per the kind of crime that you have committed, as well as the age, and also as per if you are actually a high-risk prisoner, you are also separated from others. And I agree that gangsterism, it is a criminal offense.
So you agree, if you're affiliated to the gang, it should be a crime?
Yes, it definitely should be a crime. Anyway, it is a crime.
Rian Sali, there you have it. Let's see the next tweet, guys. Who's talking to us? Lechasa says, our police officers should visit rural areas, attend community meetings, visit schools, maybe 2 or 3 will learn. Lechasa, the MEC told us a little bit earlier that this is happening right now, and there will be more engagement in the months ahead. Unati says, only the cops can do that. He's talking, of course, of coming to terms with gangsterism. No, Unati, we need our communities to be involved because often our communities are protecting gang members. Ranganai says we should equip South Africa's youngsters with knowledge, like send kids stiff from boozing and smoke, stop from boozing and smoking. Smoking rule provides infrastructure.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what he's saying as well. But I think what he's saying pretty much is that if we look after the young people, the problem in the long term will go away. So maybe the engagement you're having with schools and so forth, that's the way forward for us.
Definitely. I think the investment that you're going to make in January onwards, I think it's important to indicate that it can be a once-off event. We'll have to be there permanent. Parents need to take responsibility of their children. I think that's where we need to start. Parents can't expect government to parent or look after their children. Parents, in terms of discipline, parents must be empowered to discipline their children if there are problems. But you can only discipline your child when you are disciplining yourself. When I visited the community there, some people at about 8 o'clock in the morning were drinking beer.
This is a scourge in our community. It's unfortunate, but alcohol is one of the main problems, I think, that's in our communities. Often we talk about drugs, but the big gateway drug is alcohol.
I agree with you. The abuse of alcohol is a problem. We will be closing. Actually, we have started closing some of the illegal illegal shebins, but also those taverns that are not complying.
Yeah.
We are actually closing down. But I think excessive drinking do contribute to some of the problems that we have in our communities.
Ma'am, thank you for coming in today. I followed you this week and I really like the engagement you're having with the communities. You're right on top of this problem, and hopefully we can make sure that no unnecessary lives are lost over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me wish your viewers a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Please don't drink and drive. Don't tweet and drive, and also don't drink and walk.
Yes,
Arrive alive.
Drinking and walking. That's the MEC for Community Safety here in Johannesburg. Sizake Lenkosi Malobane joining us to talk about the scourge of gangsterism in our communities. But we'll continue the discussion with, well, community workers and even a pastor that works closely with communities in Westbury, Nuclear, Rivoli and the like. But first, let's go over to Alvis, because there's still some activity on social media.
Still some activity, it's still happening 2 days before Christmas, and you're still engaging with us. That's what we like to do. Let's take a look at what's trending on Twitter at this hour, and we start off with #traffic. Now, traffic officials are bracing themselves for high traffic volumes in all major routes today as South Africans make their way across the country for the festive weekend. A truck caught fire on the N3 in the Free State this morning. Then, soccer fans are still talking about Shakes Mashaba, who was fired from his position as the Bafana Bafana coach following a disciplinary hearing. There you see Shakes in action. Of course, he's no longer. And moving further afield, #Germany, a huge crash reward is being offered for any information on this man, Anis Amri, who was said to be involved in the Berlin market crash that left 12 people dead. Now, yesterday, police arrested 2 brothers on suspicion of planning to attack one of that country's biggest shopping centers. And for all the kids out there, it's only 2 more sleeps until Christmas, and there are many people who are feeling the #Christmas mood. You can see some of the lights out there. At least one house lit up with festive lights in the USA. In San Diego, the lawns display a sense from the nativity story. And in Germany, in the small town of Hesse, showcased a giant candle that stands out above the church peaks, and even this soccer star, some Christmas boots and Grinch socks. Look at that. Well, there you have it, some of the Christmas pics. If you go down to Cape Town, you find a wonderful suburb there with some lights all over the place. You can go visit. Actually, it's packed there normally during Christmas. But our picture of the day comes from Sheltering Grace. At Sheltering Grace, and it's captioned, #Christmas is not as much about opening our presents as opening our hearts. So says Janice. Now, our comment of the day comes from John Lennon. You remember John Lennon, who said, "And so, happy Christmas for black and for white, for yellow and the red ones. Let's stop all the fights." John Lennon, Christmas peace. Well, there's some more happening around with social media, so let's find out from Eben what's happening there. Yeah?
Whoa, what's happening around the country as we head into Christmas, Salvis? Well, we'll start with a look at what's in there, what's in the courts a little bit right now. Let's go down to the Western Cape, where abuse and neglected children from the George branch of the Child and Family Welfare Society will get the 5-star treatment when they go for a special Christmas celebration at the luxury Fan Court Hotel and Golf Estate. That's happening in George. The kids will be pampered by staff as well as Santa as they receive gifts, a meal and some entertainment. Then in Bloemfontein, AMCU President Joseph Matunjwa will hand over food parcels to more than 300 mine workers at the Lace Diamond Mine in Kroonstad. All these wonderful developments will keep you updated. After a short break, we'll be speaking to this gentleman about what is really happening in Westbury with regards to gangsterism in the township. We're asking you, of course, our question of the day. How do we rid our communities of the scourge that is gangsterism? Tell us what you think at SABC Newsroom after a short break.
A conscious move from being a street kid to being a barrister of note.
Keep on praying for me to make a better life.
A creative application of the mind on an essential need, water in wheelbarrow containers.
How about if we were to come up with an idea of an enclosed container that sits on top of the frame of a wheelbarrow?
With the sharing of resources, a boy with Russell Silver syndrome receives medication.
The fact that you just said to me, well, you're covered for next month, that's amazing.
So that's the medication.
For more inspiring stories, stay tuned to Bupilong every Friday.
Now, when warring Westbury gangs made peace in the 1990s, the gangster heavyweights then agreed to leave their lives of violence behind. But their peace pact did not eliminate crime and brutality in the area. Now, to discuss the ongoing violence in Westbury, we're joined in studio by Shahim Ismail. He's the Westbury community leader there. Shahim, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Elvis. Good morning to your viewers.
First and foremost, tell us about the current situation in Westbury and why is it happening?
Currently very tense. People are very on their nerves. Though we've got this massive deployment in the community, we've got the commitment from the MEC's office and from the police in general, that they are patrolling 24 hours. They have deployed additional police to help us with the situation. Because in the last couple of 2-3 weeks, it really got out of hand once more. And for 2 months, we had it under control with a task team that was formulated by the MEC's office. And we did very well in terms of results. From the community and also from the MEC's office and from the police. In the first month, they managed to get almost 48 firearms, illegal firearms, massive drug bust in Westbury Nuclear, and a lot of continuous raids. We also on the STARS team managed to bring in the metros, all safety security units that are responsible for safety in it. And we've seen a lot of roadblocks, we've seen a lot of interaction, and you know, at one stage when the Fees Must Fall campaign started, that's the time when we got the gap when they had to withdraw some of the stability units that were patrolling the area. And that is the time when most of the shooters or the guys see the opportunity and they started this thing all over again. But we managed to get it under control quickly. Firstly, I just want to say, Elvis, that, you know, this was one of our most baddest years in our community. We lost a lot of lives, a lot of youngsters, a lot of lives, a lot of people have been shot, a lot of families have been destroyed. To this sense, I call it a senseless violence, because up till now nobody's come forward and say, what is the reason, what is the purpose, why these shootings? So to me personally, as a resident and as a citizen in that community, in this country, it's a senseless violence that people are not stepping up to say this is it. But you know, it's very sad that we've lost quite a lot of people this year.
But you just now said that nobody really knows why this is happening. But is there perhaps a reason in terms of what is happening between the gangs? Is there a gang warfare? What is happening?
You know, it's not quite clear to the community, neither to the police, but the intelligence are working very hard. Though after every shooting incident, very quickly with the response of the task team and the intelligence of the province, is that they make arrest. They do arrest 1 to 3 youngsters, and I can vouch to say that many of these youngsters are in prison. They haven't received bail for the past 2-3 months, some of the shooters, and some cases have already gone to court, and some have been prosecuted already in terms of shooting. So results have come out of it. And even the drug bust, many of these where people were arrested, hasn't received bail. So the police have been doing very well. And we must give them credit also, you know, to say that they've been doing well in terms of helping us to resolve the issue immediately. There was a short-term plan and a long-term goal, a long-term plan. Yes, the long-term plan, the community, we need to work together. We need to get structures. Like you just mentioned, your startup club, since 1990, one of the biggest mistakes as a community that we have made in Westbury, and the former gangs and all this, no structures was put in place to deal with the aftermath. Because you still got the aftermath of that violence. As the youngsters grow up, they tend to inherit to say, but you know what, I'm growing up with revenge. I'm growing up with hatred. I'm growing up with something that I miss my father and X, Y, and Z that has been part of these gangsters. And a lot of youngsters have grown up to see that, look at this the former ex-gangsters as role models.
Yes.
And that really, and also we didn't put in structures in place in that community, that the community really takes charge. We can have the army there. We can have 10,000 army. We can have a million police in Westbury. It's not going to resolve our issues. Community needs to structure itself. We need to go back to the drawing board. As the MEC has said, we need to get together as soon as possible. We can march and march until we get old. We have marched, we've done everything, we have prayed, we have come together, we have cried, we have buried, we are mourning a lot of loved ones, and a lot of our people are sitting in wheelchairs because of this violence. The bottom line in our community and in many other communities, even in the Western Cape, is that the community must take charge, and seriously must take charge, and we need to get ourselves to grip, to even take charge of our local police stations, to make sure that we as community manage those police stations. It must become a people-friendly police station, and we must do proper crime management in those police stations.
Now, talking about the police, there were some suggestions a while ago that the police are included into in the gang wars. Is that still the case, or is that still an insinuation, or is it perhaps true?
Always, you know, this is something that really hurt myself and hurt many community leaders during the planning and the work, as we went through the work with the task team. In many instances, we marched to the police station, we make a noise. As community, we said police are corrupt. But when we were asked to come forward and get the community to submit evidence of corrupt police, up till now we haven't received one. There's not one person within our communities that come forward and make an affidavit or statement to say, this policeman is corrupt, is involved with X, Y, and Z dealings, or is involved in shooting incidents. And the door is open. People don't want to speak to us.
So these are all just allegations at this point?
Most of them, we've picked it up serious, it's allegations, and our communities are not stepping up to help us.
And talking about stepping up, because the MEC mentioned it, that communities, even when the case go to trial, that they don't want to testify. Is that because of fear, or is it because of intimidation? What is it?
There's a lot of factors to that, people testifying. You know, people are really scared in terms of they feel the violence is out of control. And like we're saying, we don't know what type of violence, what is the cause of this violence. And many people have been targeted as witnesses and intimidated and that. But there's also programs that was put into place where the community also get themselves out of these programs. A great witness protection program was established for the specific type of violence in that community, where the community take themselves out. Yes, in certain instances, some witnesses has been shot, and that brings fear to the community.
Yes.
But what I want to say, Alvis, is that really, my main point today is that we've done everything for this year. I mean, it's not the first time we're on the show. And we're grateful to the media for helping us to highlight and to get to the bottom of this. Is that we need to speak to those that are shooting, to their families. We need to call them to come to the table. If you do not want to speak to anybody in the community, please go to the MEC's office in town. You'll find the address and the phone number. Go and speak, and let us start speaking about the violence and speak out to it, because I don't believe, you know, that we can continue. There are family members that knows that keeps the guns in their homes, that knows who's responsible. If your child is responsible, you know your child comes in with a gun. So we are calling as a community to say, those shooters, please stop the shooting. Let us sit and talk. Come forward. Go to the MEC's office or go to the Provincial Commissioner's office and say that you are being threatened or you are directly involved. We know everybody needs help. And I think these shooters need big help. You must also be considerate to your own family and to your own children as to how you're destroying their lives, not just the community's lives. Because a lot of these guys, their own family are at risk continuously by this type of behavior.
Now, the solution to this. The MEC mentioned that there might be a coloured community convention taking place. Is that part and parcel of the start to find a long-term solution to this problem? And as a community leader and as a community, do you feel that this violence might come to an end?
You know, to be quite honest, I'm taking a deep breath. I fully support the initiative of the MEC, though it is way long overdue. It's something that we cried for, that we should not come together on political lines. It should not be politicized. It should be open up to every person within the community. And we should have the youth involved. And every structure within that community must take part. And it's not about Shaim, or it's not about a specific person. It's about the community and the future of that community and the future of our youngsters. And we need to make sure that this works. And we need to use every opportunity that comes forth. It's not going to help us to march and continuously uprise and cry and complain. Complaints are going to bring us nowhere. And I think out of that convention, we will be able to structure the community properly, make sure we look at the social ills of that community, address it. And we're quite happy, and we applaud the provincial government for coming to spend a whole month in Westbury in January. And I think we should use Westbury as a model for many other communities, not just former colored communities, but many other communities are suffering with the drugs, suffering with gangsterism, unemployment, social ills. So we should profile Westbury as a model that we can overcome this as citizens of this country.
I like what you've said. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, and all the best to the community of Westbury, and let's see if we can find a solution to that situation. But we continue this discussion. Eben, there's a lot of comments really that's coming through on the question that we pose, if we can rid really our communities from gangsterism.
Yeah, strong words from Shahim actually. It's, in the end, it comes down to our communities taking responsibility and not harboring gangsters anymore in the name of fear and the like. Matthew Hutton tweets us, he says, give people other opportunities for survival and advancement in life. Matthew, that's where it is. It's about opportunities for young people. Dean Rosenberg comes in and he says, how is the MEC going to address police that are aligned to drug dealers and gangster bosses? Well, Shahim has just refuted that. He's a community leader there, and he says, well, there are no complaints against the police, and he's happy with the work that they're doing. This one says, I would have preferred the MEC of Community Safety to use correctional service instead of saying prison. A statement makes me wonder whether they're really rehabilitating those gangsters in the townships after locking them into prison, as she said. Does rehabilitation in prison, does it work? That's a fair question. What do you think? Tweet us your ideas. Muli Malong says, simple, the government's crime-combating institutions can stop gangsterism, but only after they've finished fighting amongst themselves first, says Muli. Yeah, keep it coming. Keep your tweets coming. We love your interaction. That's what makes the Newsroom show. Anyhow, let's go onto our Facebook page, because there you can interact with us and get all the latest, of course. Helen Ziller in the crosshairs. The ANC in the Western Cape says it's considering laying a complaint with the Human Rights Commission against Premier Helen Ziller. This after a tweet by Ziller caused a race storm on social media. Then also, Congolese nationals in South Africa will be approaching the Independent Police Investigative Directorate to investigate police brutality after one of their own was allegedly shot at close range with rubber bullets during the anti-Joseph Kabila protest at the DRC embassy in Pretoria a little bit earlier this week. Finally, fingerprints from a Tunisian migrant have been found inside the truck that smashed through a Berlin Christmas market on Monday in an attack that killed 12 people and injured just around 50. All of that and more on our Facebook page. You can also go to sabc.co.za/news. That's our digital platform where you can get all the latest blogs and the like. Let's move on now and take a look at what's on the front pages from around the globe. We'll start in the UK. The Guardian reports that violent and abusive men are being allowed to confront and cross-examine their former partners in secretive court hearings that fail to protect women who are victims of abuse. This, according to an investigation by the newspaper. Then moving to China, the South China Morning Post says trade frictions between the US and China are tipped to rise, with US President-elect Donald Trump choosing a strident critic of Beijing to head a new White House Council on Trade. Finally, in Israel, the Jerusalem Post reports that a day filled with diplomatic drama ended last night when Egypt withdrew an anti-settlement resolution it intended to submit to the UN Security Council just over an hour after President-elect Donald Trump came out squarely against it. Well, those are international news stories from around the world right now. Of course, we're heading into Christmas weekend right now, but the community of, communities west of Johannesburg, Westbury, New Clare, even into Rivoli, gripped by fear as we head into this festive weekend, Elvis.
Yes, Gibbon, that is correct. And this morning, from the Westbury community, we have Bishop Dalton Adams, because as you know, that more than 30 people have been killed in drug-related shootings in Westbury, in Johannesburg, since August this year. Now, more police officers have been deployed to the area. Now, to talk to us about the gang-related violence in Westbury, we are joined in studio by Bishop Dalton Adams from the Westbury community. A very good morning to you, Bishop, and welcome.
Thank you, Leslie, and also thank to your viewers this morning?
It's Elvis, Bishop. Yes, yes. First and foremostly, as a faith-based community, from your perspective, what do you make of the increased violence and gang-related violence, for that matter, in Westbury?
Firstly, Elvis, we want to, from this departure point, share our deep, sincere, heartfelt condolences to all the families that lost loved ones this year. It was a very difficult year for us as a community and as a people, and to continually bury people really doesn't sit on your clothes. It really is beginning to affect the fiber of our souls as a community. So we want to say, as a faith-based organization and as community leaders, we are really very upset about what is taking place in our community. It's deplorable what's taking place, that we are all family in this community, and we have to stress that. And we have to seriously do some major work to
now,
change
talking
the
about
situation.
that, because if you look at it, gangs operate within communities, and they integrate as neighbors, as family members, brothers and sisters, and so forth. So it's time to reason that people are known in the community. So how is it so hard that these perpetrators cannot be identified within the community?
I think it's the issue of there's a culture of what we call protecting the wrong that is happening in our community. We have to seriously lift the moral consciousness again in our community. That's going to be a massive task in 2017. But we are really up to the task to make sure that we begin to engage with our community, to raise the moral standard and the moral compass of our community again, to get back to understanding that wrong is wrong, evil is evil. Yes. And we have to begin to come up against it vehemently, to begin to say that we cannot condone the senseless shooting of somebody that you know, just because the territories that are being protected. Because we must not shy away from the fact that these shootings are very much drug-related. There's no issue concerning that. It is drug-related. It has a component of territory protection. So as a community, what we find that most of our community members are being bought by being given groceries or parcels or gifts during this, so they keep quiet. We want to make an urgent appeal to our community. Let us come out, because that's the only way we're going to stop, because it's actually spreading over that innocent people will find themselves being shot. And your own children will be shot. So you cannot protect the evil any longer. We have to, as a community, begin to come out clearly.
There was a number of marches in the community, to march against the gang violence in the area. You've held one as well with the MEC this week.
Correct.
How was that received by the community? And are these marches working?
Yes.
Are they paying off?
Yeah, you see, we have to be in the face. We've got to keep the momentum at the end of the day. There was a lot of shooting took place for 2.5 months. There was no shooting, and then it just resurged again. And it was during this time, and we were afraid, and the fear gripped the community. What's going to happen over the festive season? Will it escalate? It is then that we began to say, let's put in place a men's movement called Men's Movement, Triple M, and let the men of Westbury rise. Because men are the protectors of their families. They are the breadwinners of their families. They are the ones that must be there to look after their families. They can't allow this shooting to continue in their backyards. Then we are weak men. So we begin to speak to men to say, take your place in your community. So we begin to amass the men together. And then we went to the police station and called the MEC. Our main focus there was to say, what is the measures that's going to be employed during this festive season to make sure that safety and security and peace and stability is in our community? That was the focus. And we must say, praise to God that this past few days, nothing has happened. We're having another march, not a march, this is a peace walk on next Friday, 2:30, where we're again calling the men together. We are beginning to grind the consciousness of whoever is perpetrating. Yes. We've got to be continually having programs and projects. And what the embassy is saying with regards to what's going to be rolled out next year, where we're going to put programs in place, where we have what we call the Colored Indaba or the Colored Summit. Because if you look at Westbury, it's identical to Wentworth in Durban.
Yes.
It's identical to places in Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain.
Yes.
It's identical to Easterrust. So the colored areas are finding an identical challenge. So it is David Makura, our premier, that says, and he said at the funeral of Tigran Morris that died, and he said this was, that the government has neglected colored townships. And he furthermore lamented to say that unless we're going to fix this in our townships, we will begin to erode the non-racial traditions of what is supposed to happen in the Constitution of South Africa. Yes. So we are making an appeal here, even to government, that it's not just a matter of coming in and, because safety and security can't alone solve this problem. There are many other departments in government that must come to the party. There's issues of housing, issues of social development, unemployment, skills development, economic upliftment, capacity building through economics, revitalization of the township economy. All these things is an holistic approach to what we need to do. So this Colored Summit, as we call it, must begin to address the programs and the projects that's going to be rolled out to make sure that the vacuum that has been created through unemployment, where people now go and sell drugs, they must be, because our people are tradesmen, they're artisans.
Yes.
Let's bring back the trade schools. Let's bring back people where people can work with their hands. Take the young people through programs. Create opportunities. Look, Elvis, at the equity proportions in government departments. It's critical. I believe those are the issues that must be addressed.
So the triple challenges need to be addressed in order for you to move forward and to get the community together, to mobilize them in order to progress.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? So, do you believe, as a faith-based organization, that the violence in Westbury can be curbed through the programs that you've just mentioned?
I believe with my whole heart. If you look at the stop-start of these killings, it is hopeful. There's still some consciousness left. Because if there wasn't, it would just be a bloodbath for everyone. But this stop-start is actually telling us that there is hope for Westbury, there's hope for Nuclear, there's hope for Claremont, there's hope for all areas. But we're going to need government to step in. And I really want to applaud the MEC for the work that she's doing in Westbury in particular. But we need to get the other MECs to come on board to begin to say that we can turn the tide. And our communities are ready for that. I think it's, if I can declare 2017, I declare the year of new beginnings for our communities. And these killings will stop because our people know who it is. And let me also say, it is imperative that I believe that the Hawks and even all the intelligence must have by now, they must know by now who is involved. They must have dossiers and files and stuff. So by now they must know exactly. I think within the next few months, and I'm prophesying, we'll see a major arrest taking place in our communities. We want to see these things happen. We want to see police visibility. We want to see stop and search. We want to see police going into houses and searching so that the community can feel safe, that their lives are not threatened by these senseless shootings.
Now we're asking our listeners really if we can rid our communities of gangsterism. Let's take a look at some of those comments that has come through on the Twitter handle. Is there any of those available right now? If they are, so put them up and then we'll continue. There's one there. This one says, this one from Doc Moses Villani says, take the gangs to a character building exercise in the army and on their return, give them responsibilities. Now, that's one thing that a lot of people were saying there's something missing within our communities, that you don't have a year gap, for instance, like going to the army, get some training, get some stability in your life when you leave school before you can embark on a career. And that will give you that stability to move forward. This one from the Fearless One says, the issue is drug related. And you said it, Bishop. We know it. We should not appease the stench of the claimed justification for its existence. What do you say to that?
No, I think it's clear. We must call a spade, and we must not try and block things. Evil must be vehemently pushed back. Yes. Forces of darkness must be exposed and eliminated. And in our communities, drugs are the main devil that is bedeviling our people. And we have to make sure that these programs must be arrowed to begin to deal with the issues of drug peddling, drug usage in our communities, which has a domino effect with regards to shooting, territory protection, and people are dying.
Bishop, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Thank you, Elvis.
And all the best of luck and a Merry Christmas and a festive New Year.
And God bless SABC during this Christmas also.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was Bishop Dalton Adams from the Westbury community. Now, we'll continue this discussion and we'll read some of your comments a little bit later, so you have to stay tuned. Participate. Don't eliminate. But let's go to the weather forecast.
Hello again, everybody. It's just gone 10 a.m. Yeah, it's Central African time. That is here in South Africa. Very good morning to you. If you've just joined us, of course, it's Christmas weekend. Well, happy holidays, I think, is in order from today onwards as we carry on throughout the next couple of weeks. Our focus this morning, unfortunately, has been on the 30 people that have lost their lives in gang and drug-related shootings in Westbury, west of Johannesburg, since August of this year alone. So our question of the day, we've been asking you, we've been asking the MEC and community leaders, mind you, how do we free our communities from the scourge that is gangsterism? So send us your tweets there. We'll put them up a little bit later. I liked what you guys have been doing. You've been sending us some really good tweets. I like the one about sending the gangsters to the army. Bring them back and give them responsibility. That was a very good tweet. Good job, well done. Of course, it's Christmas weekend and, you know, we've all spent money that we don't have. So we're asking you, has Christmas drained your wallet already? Yeah, it's the 23rd only, but I know a lot of us have a puncture in the wallet area of our lives right now because the Christmas shopping has kind of gone on unabated. So this is the poll we're running. Has Christmas drained your wallet already? 126 of you are voting. 2/3 of you are saying, yeah, my wallet is pretty drained already. Don't borrow money if you don't have. Let's take a look at some of your tweets. What are you guys saying with regards to Christmas and the unadulterated spending that happens at this time of the year? Nutty, who's a constant contributor, Nutty. It's been a good year having you with us, my friend. He says, no, I still have cash on my e-wallet. Lechasa comes back and he says, Christmas never drained my wallet yet because I knew from January that we're going to have Christmas. People just buy unwanted things. Yes, Lechasa, they call it retail therapy. Apparently, it's self-hate. That's why you have to buy yourself things to make you feel better. Doc Moses Belani says, as a parent, yes, however, my main focus is to save enough for mid-January because it's tough on those days. Thank you, Doc. And Doc was also the one who said we should send the gangsters, send them to the army. Africa says, the cost of living is very high. No more Christmas specials. It's a real disaster. You missed Black Friday. Black Friday was at the end of November. Then you can get the real specials. That's where we're at. Send us your tweets. We'd love to interact with you. We're trying to, well, get a bit of Christmas cheer, a bit of merriness going. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. Let's try and make it better for those that we love and those that are around us. Time now for us to take a look at our top stories here on Newsroom right now. Acting Police Commissioner Khomotso Patlane has promised South Africans that they will be protected in malls despite robberies in some of them across the country. The Police Minister Nathi Nhleko has mooted the idea of drunk driving being classified as a serious criminal offence going forward. Then the UN Security Council reiterates its request to the outgoing Gambian President Yahya Jammeh to respect the country's constitution and respect the results of the recent presidential poll. Now, our top story on Newsroom right now. Acting Police Commissioner Khomotso Patlane says officers will monitor various malls across the country to protect shoppers during the festive period. He says the effectiveness of policing should not be judged by sporadic criminal acts. Yesterday, he toured shopping malls in Gauteng to promote visible policing.
With Christmas euphoria peaking, so is the need to intensify safety, especially in the country's malls and shopping centers. Police presence has been increased as part of the back to basics approach. This is to improve visibility, enhance policing and curb various crimes which tend to spike during the festive season.
The malls are an area of focus because many of our people converge in the malls to do business. So we thought it is important that we deploy our members in numbers to create that conducive environment for people to do shopping. It is our resolve to bring down the crime levels down. And this is one area where we feel that we can make a contribution.
The top cop assured shoppers at an Attridgeville center they would be safe during this season and beyond. He then proceeded to the Mall of Africa in Midrand. Molemo wa one Motwa, SABC News, Pretoria.
As traffic volumes peak ahead of Christmas and New Year celebrations, police are deployed across the country's roads. This was evident on the N1 between Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal, where the Minister of Police, Nathi Nhleko, joined operations yesterday. The men and women in blue made 2 arrests and impounded a dozen minibus taxis.
Busted. At least 2 people traveling in minibus taxis from KwaZulu-Natal to Mpumalanga were nabbed here. A police search revealed dacha stashed in their luggage. The roadblock put up between the 2 provinces also saw a number of minibuses being impounded and a police officer arrested for drunk driving.
Regardless of your station in life, we are all equal before the law. So you are not going to have a situation where, because it so happens that you are a member of the police service and you are found to be on the wrong side of the law and we do nothing about that. No, it can't be correct.
The stop and search operations will continue until January. Commuters and drivers have mixed feelings about the operation.
I like what government is doing. It will stop overloads and accidents.
I think it's very good. It's actually comforting to see that there's so much police activity around as well, because I'm coming back from Durban now, and on the way there was lots of activity around and keeping the roads safe.
Drivers who are found to have warrants of arrest against their names are either given a choice to be arrested or pay up front. They can either pay using cash or this card machine here on the road. Sibongile Mkanimbolweni, SABC News, Charlestown in KwaZulu-Natal.
Now for some good news, for one of our colleagues. The African Editors Forum has congratulated Sherwin Bryce Pease on his election to the prestigious position of President of the United Nations Correspondents Association. This will be the first time that an African and a South African leads a team of correspondents in New York since the association was established. Now, the SABC's own UN correspondent will interact with the Secretary General, his deputy, and be responsible for ensuring that the UN and its member states are accessible to the media. According to the African Editors Forum, the achievement is a major boost for Sherwin Bryce Pease and bodes well for journalism on the continent. Sherwin and his colleague at the UN, videographer Aaron Berger, also recently received a silver medal in the Ricardo Ortega category. The story which the team submitted is about the role that the Latin American women played in pushing for women's voices at the United Nations. What a great story. Now, the abuse of state security organs to fight political battles has reached the worst level since the transition into democracy in 1994. These conflicts have spilled over into organs of South Africa's security cluster. The effects of the misuse of such institutions has led to a turbulent political climate in this country.
This country adheres to the Constitution and the law, the rule of law. No individual is given a right within that to interfere with independent processes and decisions of independent institutions. I think if this president was to interfere in any matter, either of Chapter 9 institutions or other institutions, then it would be closer to a banana republic.
A well-functioning government is a government that is not at war with itself. Where there are differences, we must be able to resolve these through dialogue and cooperation.
Words in defense of the image and integrity of state security organs. In 2016, the country witnessed such institutions being unleashed in political turf wars. Topping that list is the Hawks' bitter feud with Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. President Jacob Zuma has repeatedly denied claims that the Hawks are targeting Gordhan, so that those trying to seize control of state resources may gain unchallenged access to the treasury. Zuma's reshuffling of Gordon to the Ministry of Cooperative Governance and then back to Finance has only fueled that speculation. Gordon also locked horns with the Hawks in 2016. Both the ANC and the SA Communist Party have publicly lashed him for refusing to answer Hawks' questions on the so-called SARS rogue unit. Another feud which grabbed the headlines is Hawks boss, Lieutenant General Mthandazo Ntlemeza versus former Independent Police Investigative Directorate boss Robert McBride. It arose when McBride ignored a Hawks request for a statement relating to alleged rendition crimes committed on Zimbabwean nationals during questioning. McBride reportedly stated the Hawks' investigation was in response to IPID having taken its warning statement from Hawks boss Ntlemeza in an investigation against him. A close Ntlemeza ally, Gauteng Hawks boss Prince Mukotedi, later launched his own probe into McBride's public statements against the Hawks. Mukotedi laid 9 charges, including treason, against Robert McBride and 3 others. Further compounding matters was Police Minister Nathi Nhleko entering the fray. Nhleko drew public criticism after initially blocking McBride's return to office, citing alleged irregularities. But the Constitutional Court intervened by ruling that Nhleko did not have the legal power to suspend McBride, paving the way for him to return to office in October. Dumala Mohlaudi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, it's the time of the year when we are more at risk, I think, than at any other time. And the South African Banking Risk Information Centre says consumers should be especially vigilant against cyber criminals as commercial activities increase over the festive season and South Africans increasingly turn to online shopping now. The biggest myth we all believe is that cybercrime won't happen to us, and we are far more exposed than we think as criminals are becoming smarter and smarter. But there are a few common sense things we can do that will make it much more difficult for criminals to take advantage of us. This is according to cyber expert Jackie Fick, who is in our Sea Point studios. She's here to discuss ways to stay cyber safe this holiday season. Very good morning to you, Jackie. Thank you for making time for us today.
Good morning, Eben, and thank you for having me on your show.
Great stuff. I want to ask you, are we more at risk today than we've ever been before in the cyberspace?
Yes, we are indeed, Eben, and I think especially over the holiday seasons, that risk increases as we let our guard down a little bit, but also increase our online shopping activities.
Now, social media changes the game. Of course, it's changed the game completely. How dangerous is it on social media, and how exposed do we become?
Even I think the level of exposure depends very much on how a user decides to use the internet and social media. For example, if you take a Facebook user, are your posts visible only to your friends? Have you got public settings on your account? So say, for example, I go and I sit at OR Tambo Airport and I post there that I am on my way to Honolulu for the next 3 weeks. Does the whole world know that, or only my friends? And that's why it's very important to see that we are aware of how we use technology and what our security measures are that are in place to protect our personal information.
So don't give your game away easily is what you say, which is common sense, and it should be common sense, but we do post all the unnecessary bits of our lives today, don't we? Talk to me about Wi-Fi hotspots. You know, there's this thing that we believe if you sit at a hotspot now, you're going to be scammed immediately. It's not true, but there are ways to stay safe.
That is indeed so. I myself, being from Cell C, often use Wi-Fi calling when I am at the Wi-Fi hotspot. But the things that I do is I make sure that the Wi-Fi hotspot that I am connecting to is indeed a good one. What criminals do is you would, for example, sit in a restaurant and they would set up a hotspot and you go and connect to the first hotspot that is available, thinking that it is the restaurant's hotspot, whilst it is not. And you actually connect to a Wi-Fi hotspot that has been created by criminals. So the tip that I want to give there is that if you do want to make use of free Wi-Fi hotspots, make sure that it is actually a legitimate one, ask the restaurant what is the name of that Wi-Fi hotspot and what is the password. And secondly, don't go and share too much personal information whilst you are on a public Wi-Fi hotspot.
But shouldn't it be common sense that we should never share personal information online? Shouldn't that be drummed into our heads by now?
Eben, I wish it was, but it seems, and especially over the holiday season, we tend to forget that. And we get a bit careless. And it's also what we post online that can get us into trouble over the festive season.
Yeah, drinking and tweeting, they don't go together. It's something that I think everybody should be aware of this holiday season. So first rule, don't drink and tweet. That's for your, well, that's for your sanity. But for your pocket, what are some of the other things that people should be on the lookout for, or should not be thinking about doing this holiday?
Well, firstly, shopping online is so much more convenient than going into a busy mall and standing in a queue. But there's also rules of safety when we do online shopping. Firstly, go and see that the address that you've typed off that website is actually typed correctly. This is something that criminals rely on, that we're in a hurry, we type and we don't check, and then that typing error might take you to a website that's not the intended one. Secondly, go and see, rather retype your credit card information than have it stored on that website. We tend to shop a lot online and then you forget where you've actually stored your details. And it might be that it's compromised on a website that you forgot you actually transacted on. So take that little bit of extra time, retype your credit card information, and make sure to check the security on that website that you are transacting on.
Now, e-commerce is with us to stay. It's grown exponentially the last year in South Africa. All the e-commerce sites are inundated at this time of the year. What are some of the do's and don'ts in the e-commerce space for consumers?
Eben, what we have found is that some criminals might also send you emails that purport to be from the website you've just transacted on, saying to you this is a delivery confirmation and asking you to click on a link in that email, which of course then directs you to a fake website. So what I would recommend is, if you need to go and check the delivery status of your order, rather go and log in on the supplier's website and check your delivery details from there. What we have also found is, I've just recently at SABC, our customers received an email saying that they've won R1 million and asking them, please reply with your name and your surname and your contact details. We will then contact you and ta-da, ask you to which bank account we should pay this R1 million. So those are on the increase as well, and I don't think anybody is immune to that type of emails. Actually, they are on the increase. And secondly, people rely in the festive season on a lot of promotions, so does the criminals. So you'll see an increase in those phishing emails.
Jackie, I'm immune to it. Whenever they say I've won something, I just close the link.
Eben, I feel the same. I've won the lotto so many times and I'm still poor this Christmas.
Well, have a Merry Christmas, Jackie. Thank you for joining us. Cyber expert Jackie Fick coming to you live from Cape Town, giving us the do's and don'ts in the online space, what to do, what not to do. E-commerce, of course, it's much easier to buy stuff now if you can stand the 3 weeks it's going to take to deliver whatever you bought at this time of the year. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, well, we look at more news. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still with Newsroom on SABC News. The United Nations Security Council has reiterated their request to the outgoing Gambian President Yahya Jammeh to respect the results of the presidential polls. They want him to transfer power to President-elect Adama Barrow by the 19th of January 2017. This in accordance with the Gambian Constitution.
On the 10th of December, the UN Security Council condemned outgoing President Yahya Jammeh's rejection of the election results and urged all parties to refrain from violence.
El Consejo de Seguridad reitera su solicitud.
The Security Council reiterates its request to outgoing President Jammeh and the relevant Gambian authorities to fully respect the result of the presidential election, to respect the will of the Gambian people, and to carry out a peaceful and orderly transition process, and to transfer power to President-elect Adama Barrow in accordance with the Gambian Constitution.
President Jammeh, who took power in a coup in 1994, initially conceded defeat in the December 1st election, then later changed his mind. Regional bloc ECOWAS hopes diplomacy can persuade President Jammeh to step down. Neighboring Senegal has indicated that military action would be the last resort.
The Security Council commends the initiatives of ECOWAS, including the visit of an ECOWAS and UN high-level delegation in Banjul, led by Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President of the Republic of Liberia, and Chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority, aimed at ensuring a peaceful and orderly transition process in the Gambia.
President Jammeh has vowed to stay in power when his mandate ends in January.
Now, Congolese nationals living here in South Africa say they intend to lodge a complaint of police brutality with the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. This after one of their own was allegedly shot at close range with rubber bullets during the anti-Joseph Kabila protests at the DRC embassy in Pretoria earlier this week. 8 Congolese arrested during the protest appeared in court yesterday, but will remain in custody until their next appearance. That is only next week.
Facing charges of public violence. This after an illegal protest turned violent outside the DRC embassy on Tuesday. Protesters are demanding that President Joseph Kabila step down.
We will continue to protest until Joseph Kabila quits and Mr. Ben Mpoko is no longer the legitimate ambassador in South Africa.
One of the protesters allegedly got injured when she was shot with a rubber bullet at close range. And now the community plans to report the matter to the police watchdog, IPID.
We did ask for their permission. They refused to grant us permission because they wanted to do what they did. Now we have so many of our compatriots, Congolese, who are injured, and we are going to take it further.
The case has been postponed until next week to verify the details of the 8 accused. The state will also assess if the suspects are flight risks. Offenses Timo, SABC News, Pretoria.
Well, right now I'm joined here in studio by the spokesperson of the Congolese community in South Africa, Evariste Kambanga. Very good morning to you. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for welcoming us.
Beautiful tie. I like the tie.
Thank you.
It's a very patriotic today.
Of course, we are loyal and patriotic of our country.
I want to talk to you firstly about the police brutality case that you guys are going to open against police in South Africa. Are you going to lay charges of police brutality against the police?
So far, I think we are still assessing the situation, and we think we're not in a hurry, and we will be monitoring the situation. But I cannot say that we're going to lay charge. Yeah, as far as we.
Tell me about the protest at the Democratic Republic of the Congo's embassy in Pretoria. What did you hope to achieve with that protest, and what was your message to the world?
Our message is simple. We want President Kabila to vacate the office. His mandate has expired as constitutionally required. And the Congolese people have seen him not trying to do something like that. He's willing to stay in power against all hopes and he's also trying to violate the constitution of the country. So the protest is not just a protest, but it's a belief and a determination that we want him to vacate the office. Yes.
How do you want him to vacate the office? Because he can't just walk out of the office tomorrow. Then you have a complete power vacuum in the country. How do you want this transition to happen, or do you simply want him to stop being the president tomorrow?
We don't want a vacuum. Kabila was the best person to make sure he leaves the country in a peace and stable. He also was in charge of making sure the transition is peaceful, but unfortunately he also failed. You know what I'm saying in terms of that. But what we want now is we have structures, we have political parties, we have institutions in place. And we want those institutions and the political parties to actually come up with a comprehensive agreement in terms of what is going to happen after Kabila has vacated the office.
Paint a picture for us of what's happening back home right now. We know it's festive season and lots of people are in a celebratory mood, but we've seen lots of people being killed in the streets of Kinshasa even.
Yes.
What is happening? What are people telling you? What's happening there right now? And what's the kind of mood like amongst the people of the DRC?
We are communicating with people home, and the situation is volatile, is unstable. People are not enjoying their right, their freedom of expression. They're not working. The streets are empty. And the police brutality as seen in Pretoria is also very tense in DRC. So Christmas is very bad. It's very bad for DRC people, especially back home there. And we are trying to exert much pressure on the current government to make sure it has gone out of office.
How do you communicate with the people, with family back home, and how do you check on whether people are still alive, whether people are safe and so forth? For instance, the networks, are they up and running? Can you communicate via WhatsApp platforms and these things, for instance, or is that very difficult?
Of course, we do communicate on WhatsApp. But yeah, we have experienced difficulties in terms of real communication. There are instances where WhatsApp, was blocked, and you heard that in the news. Government had put some restrictive measures on social media platforms, etc. Yeah, but we do manage. We have strategies in terms of communicating with people, and secretly we do something. We do something without the government knowing what's happening.
Something very interesting that comes out of the Congolese community here in South Africa that I've been reading up on, that I'm interested about, is that you guys are seriously talking about a kind of process like we had in South Africa, truth and reconciliation process, a process where you forgive and forget the past and you can move on and build together something. Do you still believe this is necessary or even possible in the DRC?
Of course, that is our position as a Congolese community. We believe we are decent human beings, and we are all Congolese people. South African case is very different because we had different social formations. You're talking about white people and black people, colored and Indians.
Race. But we have race issues in South Africa.
Issue. But we don't have such issue in DRC.
You don't have tribal issues.
We don't have tribal issues.
So what's the problem? Is it only money?
The problem at the moment is, interests, and also multinational interests,
So it's about resource.
It's about, natural resources. So guys have been in the office. They have seen how the country pays, how economy, is being run, etc. So they don't want to vacate the office. They want power, they want money, they want interest, etc. But we're asking them to be just decent human beings and to be decent people, and they have even guarantees. There have been guarantees that we can give them amnesty as a Congolese population.
So you say the decent thing to do for Joseph Kabila would be to step down now and hand over power to the people?
We're not even asking him to step down. We're asking him to vacate the office because his mandate has expired.
Yeah. So he's not speaking. So he doesn't have the position anymore. He's just in the office illegally. That's your
illegally illegitimate, and at the moment is we call him former president of DRC.
Former President Joseph Kabila.
Correct.
Give me a quick idea. Do you see the protests here in South Africa of Congolese nationals living in South Africa? Do you see the protests in South Africa getting worse if things don't change in the DRC?
We don't have to see this worse, but we believe South Africa is a decent nation. We have seen such in the past, and South Africa didn't manage to resolve such crises, in the past. And we hope South African government is best placed and is in a position of helping the Congolese people in terms of achieving this transitional process. But unfortunately, what we're seeing at the moment is South Africa and government is unwilling to actually give Congolese people space and, give them a space to actually achieve that. So we continue exerting pressure and do what we can do to make sure things change.
The pictures that you see on screen now, people throwing stones at police shooting rubber bullets at them. This is in the capital here in South Africa, Pretoria. That's not the kind of thing that you want to see any more of, is it?
Definitely, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that, but unfortunately, things happen. And we hoped South Africa, we hoped we could hear a message from responsible democratic governments such as South Africa that President Joseph Kabila, your mandate is expired, please step down and leave the office, because that's how democracies cooperate. Yes, you can urge your friend to step down and leave the space because we want change.
I thank you for coming and joining us today to talk about what is happening both in South Africa and in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Evariste Kemanga is the spokesperson of the Congolese community here in South Africa. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Time for us to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what you need to think about when you're eating over this weekend, because this weekend will be the big eat all around the world. Be careful what you put in your mouth after a short break.
Of South Africa's celebrities were battling it out for 40 grand at the 5th annual Celebrity Cook-Off in Witbank.
We look forward to welcoming everybody to Emlahleni because this is the place of coal.
For a starter, I'll give you guys 45 minutes to prepare, and the main course will be 1 hour 30 minutes.
The team name is Iniqua Stars, the clever choices.
Yes! Manora Pizza.
3 Michelin stars.
Yes!
Like at least 2. Drum roll. Swami and the defending champions are the Michelin stars.
That's Trends Travel every Sunday, 12 to 1 p.m. on SABC News. Keeping you up to date with business developments.
So there's no shortage of money in the system. There's a shortage of implementation capacity to actually get things done.
Always on point with news of the day.
May has promised radical social and economic reforms, fueling speculation over the future of current senior figures.
On the ball every time with all sports codes.
The Joburg side already have a quarter-final at home, and a victory against the Argentines will ensure home semi-final.
Accurate weather updates after every bulletin. Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
Merry Christmas, wherever you are. Yes, we're heading into the Christmas weekend. It is a special weekend all around the world, a time of giving and a time of eating. But before we get to the eating bit, let's take a look at this poll that we're running, because our wallets have been beaten. It's been beaten into the ground already up till now. We've been asking you a question: has Christmas drained your wallet already? Now, 132 votes are in, 63%. That's 2 out of every 3 people are saying, yes, I'm broke already, and it's not even Christmas yet. Don't worry, you will be getting something at least in the sock on Sunday morning. Doc Moses Belani says, as a parent, yes, however, my main focus is to save enough for mid-January, because it's tough in those days. Yeah, Doc Moses, that's a very smart way to look at it. Africa says, the cost of living is very high. No more Christmas specials. It's a real disaster, he says. Unati says, no, I still have cash on my e-wallet. Laugh out loud. Okay. Yeah. Now, Christmas is just 2 days away now, and many of us have forgotten completely about our diets, or, well, are about to forget about our diets. Now, at this time of the year, it's easy to fall into the trap of eating merely for comfort and pleasure. Now, with the kids at home, it might not be hard to control their diet as well. While at shopping malls looking for Christmas gifts, one is surrounded by sweets and treats that are sometimes hard to resist. Now, to talk to us about resisting the temptation, or rather, how to snack healthily, we are joined in studio by Dr. Sandra Pretorius Rivala, who is a dietitian at InMed Partnerships for Children. Very good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Now, this is a very difficult time of the year for the diet, isn't it? And people kind of give up a little bit. What advice do you give to people? How should they be thinking overall at this time of the year with regards to eating?
I think the big challenge this time of the year is Christmas parties. So there's a few tips that I can give around specifically Christmas parties. I think the one thing is that we must remember it's a time to focus on family. It's a time to focus on the people that you are with. And not only on the food. So first of all, enjoy being with the people, and then if you go to a Christmas party or you go to an event with your family or friends, make sure you don't go on an empty stomach.
I focus on my family, but they are the ones who bring the food.
Yeah, so I think if you know you're going to have an event like that, maybe make sure you eat a healthy snack beforehand, so that you're not there on an empty stomach. And a healthy snack comprises of a snack that consists of a whole grain starch, like a sandwich with some vegetables or salad and protein on it. And then when you're at this party, is also, if it's a buffet style party, make sure you take a small plate, fill it up once, try new foods that you haven't tried before, and eat slowly and mindfully and enjoy each bite that you are eating. Experts say we enjoy the first 3 mouthfuls of any food that we eat, so focus on that.
Yeah.
And also, very importantly, is what we drink. So be very careful of carbonated drinks that's very high in sugar.
Yeah.
Another useful tip is to fill up your glass with ice, and then also make sure you drink plenty of water, drink sparkling mineral water.
Wow, that's wonderful, but some people actually prepare to overindulge at this time of the year, and some of them don't eat the whole day before Christmas lunch. What are you going to say to them?
I would again say, you know what, if you've planned for this, my advice again would be make sure you eat healthy, and then always, it is a time of the year where we do eat foods we don't normally eat. We do eat desserts, we do eat chocolates, which it's a treat, so enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it, enjoy it.
Guilt is the thing that kills us in the end, isn't it?
And also again, if you have overindulge. Don't let it now stop you from going back to a healthy diet. So if I've indulged today and then tomorrow, just go back onto your healthy.
Forgive yourself.
Forgive yourself. Enjoy it, because also it's not good to feel guilt about. Enjoy it. Enjoy the time you're spending with your family, and tomorrow go back to a healthy diet. Be active. Go and exercise, walk, drink plenty of water. So. Yeah, that would be my
Now, you
advice.
mentioned chocolate. Of course, chocolate is the poison for most people, not just this time of the year, but every day of the year almost. What are healthy chocolate options, or how do you think differently about chocolate, or how should we think about eating chocolate?
Chocolate, for me, it's a treat. I always advise, and I always say, first and foremost, make sure you eat healthy, because that is where your nutrients that's fueling your body is coming from. Then chocolates is a treat. It's something that we can enjoy. And there's a few things that I can advise is don't eat chocolates on an empty stomach. Eat first and then have chocolates, because if you eat chocolates on an empty stomach, it just enhances the craving for chocolate. So rather eat and then have chocolates and enjoy that.
Okay, that's a very nice tip. What about what about gifts and chocolate? Because I got it in my head this year that I can get away on the cheap a little bit with the gifts by giving people chocolates, and good chocolate at that. But can I give my guy friends, can I give them chocolate as well?
I think so, and I think go maybe for chocolates that's 70% cocoa rich, because those are lower in calories. Maybe make it part of a gift parcel where you also include nuts and dried fruits, and also biltong that most guys enjoy. Also, if you give chocolates as a gift, make sure they're nicely wrapped. Spend a bit of time on the presentation of the chocolates. Make it smaller chocolates, nicely individually wrapped. Because again, instead of eating these big slabs of chocolate, enjoy the chocolate, make it smaller, bite-sized chocolates. Share your chocolates. That's another.
That's a nice way to get. Share your chocolates.
Yeah, share. Then it's you consuming less while you're still enjoying it, and it's you sharing it with someone, which is also, I think, a nice thing to do this time of the year.
Yep, and the person that shares your chocolate, they then owes you something, a favor or something in life.
As well.
I like that. Share your chocolate, share your food, then you eat less. That's all I'm going to try and do. Thank you, Dr. Sandra Pretorius-Rivelon. She's a dietitian at InMed Partnerships for Children. And we didn't even get to talk about children, but just don't let them eat too much. That's the simple rule for this season.
Yeah, and let them eat meals, healthy, balanced meals and snacks, and then have chocolates as a treat.
There we go. Don't overindulge the children as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, a man, he's in black. It looks like he's in mourning. Tsetsi Minari is here with the weather now.
Hello there, welcome from the weather desk. Yeah, looks like it's going to be a very hot day again here in South Africa. A hot Christmas coming your way, but also a rainy Christmas in some parts. If you take a look at this image, it shows you all the rainfall patterns towards Botswana, as well as over the eastern side of South Africa. Also towards the west, it's coming our way there for the Western Cape province, and then most of the concentration on the best chance of rainfall are expected towards that northwestern part of Zambia, as well as over the northern parts of Angola and over Madagascar as well. Similar conditions over the southwestern regions. There's a good chance of rainfall. And then by tomorrow, including Sunday, do expect rain just along that northern interior, again moving in, stretching down south into Limpopo province, Mpumalanga, Botswana, as well as over Zimbabwe. So do look out for rainy conditions, but also do look out for extremely hot conditions over the next couple of days. Speaking of hot conditions, take a look at this. South African Weather Service has issued out this warning again of possibilities of veld fires. Now, it's coupled with extremely windy conditions towards the Karoo, and those could lead to some serious veld fires. They can serve as the good fuel for fires along those parts. Gale force winds, wind speeds going as fast as 65 kilometers an hour are expected along the coast. So please be extra careful there. If you need to, walk around with bricks so that you don't get blown away. Take a look at your temperatures. So a hot day towards Upington at 36, but some of the hottest places are actually Lephalale at 41 degrees, and also towards Skukuza. That will reach 45. Bloemfontein is at 35 and 22 towards Cape Town. Much cooler weather is expected for the Western Cape province. And traveling up north through Beitbridge into Zimbabwe, expect a maximum of 40 to 45, 35 for Bulawayo and Harare at 28. Also 28 towards Antananarivo in Madagascar. Central Africa is looking pretty bleak. Not much is happening here. Dry weather, but hot temperatures in some areas, such as the southern part of Sudan. In Juba, I expect a maximum of 37. 32 for Luanda, and Brazzaville will reach 35, but there's also rainy weather that is expected along that part of Africa, going all the way towards the northern parts. I did mention that the northwestern regions are actually expecting better chances of rainfall and cooler weather for the northern parts. You'll see cooler temperatures from the northern parts of Egypt all the way towards Libya and stretching down towards Algeria, which is basically normal. Northern hemisphere going through winter. You can also see just along the southern parts, closer towards the equator, rainfall already decreasing slightly there, moving all the way further south towards the southern part of the DRC and over West Africa as well. Nothing changes much. And from this image, you can see this dark blue here turning to about purple. That just indicates temperatures are much cooler along those parts. Baghdad at 8 degrees, 14 towards Damascus, 12 for Benghazi, and rainy weather with 16 for Tripoli, just along the southern part of Libya. It gets drier there, a bit of clouds, nothing changes. Temperatures still sort of finding themselves between those lower 20s and mid-20s. Eventually, they will drop to lower 20s. Some of them might even reach the teens, like you are seeing here towards Marrakech, Las Palmas, and over Rabat. Those ones are now swiftly moving into their winter temperatures. And then somewhere where it's almost never winter, as Nyami as well as N'Djamena. Along those parts, it is always hot. So if you're going to be in Naime, expect a maximum of 37. Bamako's at 34, sunny skies moving all the way towards the west side. You can see it's getting drier here, starting with Abidjan. Then a bit of rainfall comes in, but it's also pretty much lost raindrops. It's going to get a bit drier there into Lagos, Lome, as well as over some parts of Benin. N'Djamena, as I said, hot and dry, reaching maximums of about 37 degrees. That's where I leave it for the weather, but do stay tuned. There'll be more here on SABC's news channel.
Before you go, I just want to get Tete Munana. I just want to wish you Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You too.
Merry Christmas. It's been a wonderful year working with you. Yeah. Always a breath of fresh air and a man with a wonderful outlook on life. It's nice to work with you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I thought you were actually going to tell the lady that you are the human chocolate, so you don't need to eat chocolate.
Yeah, so. No, I mean, I don't want to go there. She was a little bit nervous. Yeah, and you know.
You make a lot of people nervous, huh?
No, but I mean, coming to a place telling people not to eat over this weekend, I think it's a bit presumptuous, actually.
Yes, I'm actually going to eat myself to sleep. I'm not going to stop here.
I didn't want to tell her I'm going to smash it this weekend because all the party dishes come out, you know, all the dishes that the sister makes and the mother makes.
Yes, and the aunt, yes. Mm-hmm.
So everyone comes with something, so I'm just going to smash it and then worry about that in the new year.
Absolutely, same here. I've actually ran enough over the last couple of weeks to load up for the next couple of days, so I'll be ready for it, yeah?
Tete Munana, wonderful. Now, of course, it's 2 days to Christmas, yes? We're counting down 8 days until New Year, so let's get you into a little bit of a party mood. Earlier, we were joined in studio by beautiful South African hip-hop talent, Terry Treasure. She's known by family and friends as Gugu Bonga. She knew from a young age that music was the best way to express herself. She treated us to a hit song, Eyazi.
Yeah, we've been going in, I say we are causing. We've been doing it, all work, no lounging. With the flow, there's no stopping. We talking numbers now, too clean with no polish. Houdini now find me, too sick, no pills, not redundant. I got too much time.
I came to get your money. Everybody go low. Everybody go low and they dance low. Everybody go low. Everybody go low and they dance low. Everybody go low. Everybody go low and they dance low.
Yeah. Everybody going low, yeah boy. We take it in stripes, so sure for more. I mean the truth is a good see me now when I jump on the beat, you know, full to little. Only with chisel. I mean I only bring heat though. My verbs only bring heat strokes. Back to the punchlines, only we know. The skill elevated and you get to watch me peak though. Warded up, I'm chilled out, I'm on it now. Yeah boy, nah, look up, more God-given lines. I can't help but thank him. He the offer back to fanning. Ha! You know they get to love me, now we as. You know they get to love me, now we as.
Hey ass. Anuma quiero love me. I am 70 yami. I came to get your money. Uqale ndabi phele laphi. Hey ass. Everybody go low. Hey ass. Everybody go low when they dance low. Hey ass. Everybody go low. Hey ass. Everybody go low when they dance low. Hey ass. Everybody go low. Hey ass. Everybody go low when they dance low. Hey ass.
The proceedings of the Fees Commission has once again been disrupted.
We as a university do not feel that fee-free higher education currently is feasible.
This is a Mickey Mouse commission. During in the commission, student grievances we're not a part of the commission in the program. So that is why we tend to disturb the program.
If you tell me that I can't leave, then you are keeping me hostage.
Some students demanded that UCT lift the suspensions and expulsions of certain students.
One of the key things that you have there is preservation of the teeth, so that when you can function, you can chew your food. And if they are not taken care of properly, you can lose them.
The most common infection in the mouth is on the tooth. Right. And it's dental caries or tooth decay.
That prolonged contact of the sugary substance being juice or whatever was in contact with the teeth for a long time, that's what causes the children to have what you see as rotten teeth.
We have a method that has been developed at VETS, which is called Appropriatech, which allows the person to have dentures delivered in a very quick and simple manner.
Join Health Talk every Saturday for all your health news.
Water-wise, water is an essential need. The scarcity of it could lead to loss of many lives, including livestock, plants, and much more. It requires us to use it sparingly and responsibly in times of need, failing which our taps and sanitation will not function. For more on water and weather issues, stay tuned to News Today, every Friday at 5:45 Central African Time. SABC News, making you water-wise.
They made us proud. Wade van Niekerk broke a world record winning an Olympic gold medal at Rio 2016, and he got named Sportsman of the Year in South Africa, a people's choice.
Sundowns Simuso.
Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club are 2016 Kings of Africa after winning the CAF Cup. Caster Semenya won a gold medal for her Olympics 2016 and was named Sportswoman of the Year 2016 in South Africa. They worked hard. Thabiso Sithole, a seasoned sports journalist of note, is now crowned Sports Journalist of the Year at the South African Sports Awards 2016. The Vodacom Journalist of the Year went to Hasina Gori for her hard work in television news and Candice Nolan for her outstanding work in radio news. Dr. Dumi won big at the SABC Gospel Awards, taking 6 awards and was crowned the Best Artist. Nathi Mankayi, Afro Soul sensation, was crowned king of the 22nd South African Music Awards. They will be missed. Mandoza Kwaito singer known for his hit song Galagata lost a battle to cancer. Gugu Zulu, who made motor racing sport popular amongst blacks, passed on while on a goodwill course in Kilimanjaro. Greg Melville Smith, actor, director, writer and voice-over artist, also moved on to the other side.
I hereby revoke all wills.
Nyembezi Kunene, actor, comedian who left South Africans in stitches in all roles he played, is also no more. Sfiso Ncwane, a popular award-winning artist well known for his rendition, Kulungile Baba, yielded to kidney failure.
This is the final hour. This is Newsroom. It's 1100 hours Central Africa time. Welcome back, Jumbo Africa. My name is Elvis Preston. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock. As you know, we're broadcasting live from our Auckland Park studios here in Johannesburg. 2 days before Christmas, but there's violence in some of our communities. Our focus this morning is on more than 30 people that have been killed in gang and drug-related shootings in Westbury since August this year. Question of the day, we're asking you, how do we free our communities from gangsterism? That's the question we pose to you. Let me take a look at what you have to say with regards to the question that we posed. Let's see if it's up here. This one coming from Arsali says, criminalization for gang affiliation. There should be that. Special gang prisons. Prisons should also be should also separate all the inmates there, says Arsali. Lahasa says, hashtag gangsters, our police officers should visit the rural areas, attend community meetings, visit schools. Maybe 2 or 3 will learn that you don't affiliate yourself with a gang. Unati Grootboom says, only the cops can do that. That's to rid the gangs of our communities. But is that really true, Lachasa? Because the community need to work together, shouldn't they? And then, of course, Matthew says, give people other opportunities for survival and advancement in life. Now, that's a critical point because you need to socially uplift your people in order for them to progress. Dean Rosenberg says, how is the MEC going to address police that are aligned to drug dealers and gangster bosses? Well, you heard from Dean earlier on in our conversation. It was completely denied that there's any involvement because people were asked to come forward and actually give their statements in relation to that argument that the police are involved. So there was none. So we're also conducting a poll this morning. We're asking you, play a little bit with you. Has Christmas drained your wallet already? Well, let's take a look what you have to say. 137 votes thus far. 63% of you are saying yes. The Christmas fever has drained my wallet entirely. And 37% are saying no. Let me also take a look what you have to say with regards to that on the Twitter handle as well as on the Facebook page. Let's see if there's any comments in relation to the question that we put on the poll. Siafana says, yes, but my wallet is not empty. Now, here's a clever man because I still have a bonus, the bonus money in my account, says Siafana. This one from Diego says, my wallet was drained at Easter already. So Diego's got no money for Christmas presents. And this one from Unati says, no, I still have cash on my e-wallet. Laugh out loud. So says Unati. And this one from Lachasa, Christmas never drained my wallet yet because I knew from January that we're going to have Christmas. People just buy unwanted things. And that's normally what happens during this time of the year, isn't it? Doc Moses Villani says, as a parent, yes, however, my main focus is to save enough for mid-January because it's tough on those days. And it's especially true, they call it Jan no worry. So there's a man that look after himself. He's sorted for January. But right now, let's take a look at your top stories this hour. The acting police commissioner, Komotso Paslani, has promised South Africans that they will be protected in malls despite robberies in some of them across the country. The police minister, Nathi Nhleko, has mooted the idea of drunk driving being classified as a serious criminal offense. And the UN Security Council reiterates its request to the outgoing Gambian President Jammeh to respect the country's constitution and respect the results of the presidential election. Those are all your top stories. Let's now take a look at the story making headlines this hour. The acting police commissioner, Komotso Paslani, says that officers will monitor various malls across the country to protect shoppers during the festive season. He says the effectiveness of policing should not be judged by sporadic criminal acts. Yesterday, he toured some shopping malls in Gauteng to promote visible policing.
Euphoria peaking, so is the need to intensify safety, especially in the country's malls and shopping centers. Police presence has been increased as part of the back to basics approach. This is to improve visibility, enhance policing and curb various crimes which tend to spike during the festive season.
The malls are an area of focus because many of our people converge in the malls to do business. So we thought it is important that we deploy our members in numbers to create that conducive environment for people to do shopping. It is our resolve to bring down the crime levels down, and this is one area where we feel that we can make a contribution.
The top cop assured shoppers at an Attridgeville center they would be safe during this season and beyond. He then proceeded to the Mall of Africa in Midrand. Mulemo Onemotwa, SABC News, Pretoria.
Now, as traffic volumes pick up ahead of Christmas and New Year celebrations, police are deployed across the country's roads. Now, this was evident on the N1 between Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal, where the Minister of Police, Nathi Nhleko, joined operations yesterday. The men and women in blue made 2 arrests and impounded a dozen minibus taxis.
Busted. At least 2 people traveling in minibus taxis from KwaZulu-Natal to Mpumalanga were nabbed here. A police search revealed dacha stashed in their luggage. The roadblock put up between the 2 provinces also saw a number of minibuses being impounded and a police officer arrested for drunk driving.
Regardless of your station in life, we are all equal before the law. So you are not going to have a situation where, because it so happens that you are a member of the police service and you are found to be on the wrong side of the law and we do nothing about that. No, it can't be correct.
The stop and search operations will continue until January. Commuters and drivers have mixed feelings about the operation.
I like what government is doing. It will stop overloads and accidents.
I think it's very good. It's actually comforting to see that there's so much police activity around as well, because I'm coming back from Durban now, and on the way there was lots of activity around and keeping the road safe.
Drivers who are found to have warrants of arrest against their names are either given a choice to be arrested or pay up front. They can either pay using cash or this card machine here on the road. Sibongile Mkanimbolweni, SABC News, Charlestown in KwaZulu-Natal.
The Minister of Public Enterprises, Lynn Brown, says that all state-owned enterprises under her department are returning to healthy liquidity status as a result of the implementation of a turnaround strategy. Meanwhile, this week, the board of South African Express finally signed off the 2015-2016 financial statements. Its conclusion came after several delays due to ongoing disquiet about SA Express's ongoing concerns.
While SOEs like Denel are struggling to turn their fortunes around, the situation at Transnet and Eskom is somewhat different. The minister attributes this to good corporate governance.
It's really 3 areas: financial sustainability, stable boards, and that the shareholder compact, the agreement between the state and the state-owned company, that we have those in place.
She's satisfied with the turnaround strategies at both Transnet and Eskom.
Eskom, for example, in their interim results in September, they've actually clocked a 9.3 billion rand profit. Now, Transnet is just under 6 billion rand and profit in a period where commodities, there had been a commodity downturn within our, in the world actually. So I'm pleased with it.
Over the past 2 years, none of them has ever required government intervention in terms of guarantees. SA Express going concern has been resolved and plans are afoot to maintain its sustainability.
The reason they had a problem with the going concern was that they couldn't draw down some of the money that they had. But that has been resolved. I will take them to an AGM early in the new year so that we then again resolve the problems going forward.
In the previous financial year, the airline made a net loss of 132 million rands, and by the end of March, it had accumulated losses of up to 173 million rands. Minister Brown says these losses are now a thing of the past. SA Express and all other state-owned enterprises under her portfolio will begin making profits and cease draining state coffers. Manelisi Tubase, SABC News, Parliament.
The African National Congress in the Western Cape says it's considering laying a complaint with the Human Rights Commission against Premier Helen Zille. This after a tweet by Zille caused a stir on social media on Wednesday. Zille was responding to the bungalow restaurant issue where a waiter had identified patrons as two blacks on their bill.
Premier Helen Zille is alleged to have sent the offensive tweet just after 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. In it, she asked, "Why is it okay to racially classify people for jobs, but not to identify people at a table by their race?" The tweet, which was removed shortly thereafter, wasn't well received, with some respondents, including the ANC in the province, questioning Zille's understanding of the country's race dynamics.
We want to package all these issues that Helen Zille has been saying that are offensive, that are racist, having jumped herself into Twitter and dumping down and being silly. We want to package all those things and then seek advice. What do these things constitute? Can we, as a premier of a province, can we take these issues to a higher authority?
In an SMS response to the SABC, Zille denied having made any racially offensive statement. She says, "There's not a single racist thing I have said anywhere. Quite the contrary. I am totally opposed to race profiling and I call out people who are selective about it." It seems the DA agrees.
The Premier is trying to engage in a serious conversation about race. And if we want to have a serious conversation about race, then let's have an honest conversation about race and let's not be partial about it.
It's still unclear when the ANC will approach the Human Rights Commission with its complaint. Lukhanyo Khalada, SABC News, Parliament.
The abuse of state security organs to fight political battles has reached the worst level since the transition into democracy in 1994. Now, these conflicts have spilled over into organs of South Africa's security cluster. The effect of the misuse of such institutions has led to a turbulent political climate in the country.
This country adheres to the Constitution and the law, the rule of law. No individual is given a right within that to interfere with independent processes and decisions of independent institutions. I think if this president was to interfere in any matter, either of Chapter 9 institutions or other institutions, then it would be closer to a banana republic.
A well-functioning government is a government that is not at war with itself. Where there are differences, we must be able to resolve these through dialogue and cooperation.
Words in defense of the image and integrity of state security organs. In 2016, the country witnessed such institutions being unleashed in political turf wars. Topping that list is the Hawks' bitter feud with Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. President Jacob Zuma has repeatedly denied claims that the Hawks are targeting Gordhan, so that those trying to seize control of state resources may gain unchallenged access to the treasury. Zuma's reshuffling of Gordhan to the Ministry of Cooperative Governance and then back to finance has only fueled that speculation. Gordhan also locked horns with the Hawks in 2016. Both the ANC and the SA Communist Party have publicly lashed him for refusing to answer Hawks' questions on the so-called SARS rogue unit. Another feud which grabbed the headlines is Hawks boss, Lieutenant General Mthandazo Ntlhameza versus former Independent Police Investigative Directorate boss Robert McBride. It arose when McBride ignored a Hawks request for a statement relating to alleged rendition crimes committed on Zimbabwean nationals during questioning. McBride reportedly stated the Hawks' investigation was in response to IPID having taken its warning statement from Hawks boss Ntlhameza in an investigation against him. A close Ntlemeza ally, Gauteng Hawks boss Prince Mukotedi, later launched his own probe into McBride's public statements against the Hawks. Mukotedi laid 9 charges, including treason, against Robert McBride and 3 others. Further compounding matters was Police Minister Nathi Nhleko entering the fray. Nhleko drew public criticism after initially blocking McBride's return to office, citing alleged irregularities. But the Constitutional Court intervened by ruling that Nhleko did not have the legal power to suspend McBride, paving the way for him to return to office in October. Dumala Mohlaudi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
News just then. 3 people, including 2 minors, have been killed in a head-on collision between a truck and a sedan on the N3 road south of Harrismith in the Free State. Now, both vehicles burst into flames and 3 people who were in the sedan burned to death. Police say the truck driver managed to jump out of the truck before it burst into flames. The road is closed to the traffic and motorists are advised to use alternative routes. Now, we'll keep you updated on that story, that deadly accident on the N3 during the course of the day, so you have to stay tuned to your favorite channel, Channel 404. This is Newsroom. News from further afield now. The United Nations Security Council has reiterated their request to the outgoing Gambian President Yahya Jammeh to respect the results of the presidential election. They want him to transfer power to the president-elect Adama Barrow by the 19th of January 2017. That's in accordance with the Gambian constitution.
Facing charges of public violence. This after an illegal protest turned violent outside the DRC embassy on Tuesday. Protesters are demanding that President Joseph Kabila...
Outgoing President Yahya Jammeh's rejection of the election results and urged all parties to refrain from violence.
El Consejo de Seguridad reitera su solicitud.
The Security Council reiterates its request to outgoing President Jammeh and the relevant Gambian authorities to fully respect the result of the presidential election, to respect the will of the Gambian people, and to carry out a peaceful and orderly transition process, and to transfer power to President-elect Adama Barrow in accordance with the Gambian constitution.
President Jammeh, who took power in a coup in 1994, initially conceded defeat in the December 1st election, then later changed his mind. Regional bloc ECOWAS hopes diplomacy can persuade President Jammeh to step down. Neighboring Senegal has indicated that military action would be the last resort.
The Security Council commends the initiatives of ECOWAS, including the visit of an ECOWAS and UN high-level delegation in Banjul, led by Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, President of the Republic of Liberia, and Chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority aimed at ensuring a peaceful and orderly transition process in the Gambia.
President Jammeh has vowed to stay in power when his mandate ends in January.
Congolese nationals living in South Africa say they intend to lodge a complaint of police brutality with the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. Now this after one of their own was allegedly shot at close range with rubber bullets during the anti-Joseph Kabila protest at the DRC embassy in Pretoria on Tuesday. 8 Congolese arrested during that protest appeared in court yesterday but will remain in custody until their next appearance next week.
Facing charges of public violence. This after an illegal protest turned violent outside the DRC embassy on Tuesday. Protesters are demanding that President Joseph Kabila step down.
We will continue to protest until Joseph Kabila quits and Mr. Ben Mpoko is no longer the legitimate ambassador in South Africa.
One of the protesters allegedly got injured when she was shot with a rubber bullet at close range. And now the community plans to report the matter to the police watchdog, IPID.
We did ask for their permission. They refused to grant us permission because they wanted to do what they did. Now we have so many of our compatriots, Congolese, who are injured, and we are going to take it further.
The case has been postponed until next week to verify the details of the 8 accused. The state will also assess if the suspects are flight risks. Offenses Timo, SABC News, Pretoria.
Well, social media was abuzz with that particular protest in Pretoria, so let's take a look at what you had to say. This one from Khial says, South African government has a pivotal role to play in ending the violence in the DRC. This one continues, says, Kabila has violated the DRC constitution by forcefully staying in power after his mandate has expired. He continues by saying the SAPS used excessive force while dealing with protesters at the DRC embassy. Hashtag Congo crisis. Now those were some of the comments coming through there from Kael. Now in news abroad, German police have arrested two brothers on suspicion of planning to attack one of that country's biggest shopping centers. The arrest came 4 days after a jihadist killed 12 people at a Berlin Christmas market. Authorities are meanwhile still searching for a 24-year-old Tunisian in connection with Monday's market attack in Berlin. Police have offered a reward of up to 100,000 euros for information about the whereabouts of Anis Amri.
Before 12 people were killed. Dashcam video obtained exclusively by Reuters appears to show a truck smashing into a Christmas market in Berlin on Monday. It was captured from inside of a cab, the driver waiting for customers, unaware of the horror about to unfold. Officials say fingerprints have been found inside the truck, indicating suspect Anis Amri, seen here, was behind the wheel. Police raids so far have failed to find him. Amri, who had been identified as a threat and rejected for asylum, is considered armed and dangerous.
Thousands of people in western Aleppo took to the streets rejoicing Syria's operation to retake the eastern side of their city from the rebels. Celebratory gunfire began to erupt and crowds began to fill the streets as soon as the army announced that the last rebels had left Aleppo. The eastern side of the city had been under the control of President Bashar al-Assad's forces throughout the conflict. The loss of East Aleppo is the biggest blow to the rebel movement in Syria's nearly 6-year conflict, which has killed more than 310,000 people. That's what's currently happening in Aleppo. But let's take a look at what's happening on social media this hour. And we start off with Doctors Without Borders MSF Sea Rescue Mission, hashtag Aquarius on the hashtag Mediterranean Sea. Teams worked tirelessly to save 100 migrants on a boat in terrible winter conditions. And there you can see the picture there. All of them were saved. Then the iconic editor-in-chief of the Italian Vogue, Franca Sozzani, has died at the age of 66. And there you see her in that picture. And Christmas Eve, the Americans are having some fun as they count down the sleeps to Christmas night. They're calling today Christmas Eve. In Texas, cheerleaders are getting ready for the Christmas Eve football game, and others are hoping they get what they wrote on their wish list to Santa, such as theme football boots. And in Greece, children go door to door to sing and offer gifts on Christmas Eve. Are you doing the same? This used to happen in communities where people go door to door and sing Happy Christmas. Pum-pum-pum-pum. Are you doing it this Christmas? Like to find out, you can tweet us. Let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on the Facebook page. Now, there was some very interesting figures that came out. In fact, but we'll first take a break, and we'll come back with those figures and the economy just after this.
They made us proud. Wade Fanikek broke a world record winning an Olympic gold medal at Rio 2016, and he got named Sportsman of the Year in South Africa, a people's choice.
Sundowns se muso.
Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club are 2016 Kings of Africa after winning the CAF Cup. Caster Semenya won a gold medal for her Olympics 2016 and was named Sportswoman of the Year 2016 in South Africa. They worked hard. Thabiso Sithole, a seasoned sports journalist of note, is now crowned Sports Journalist of the Year at the South African Sports Awards 2016. The Vodacom Journalist of the Year went to Hasina Gori for her hard work in television news and Candice Nolan for her outstanding work in radio news. Dr. Dumi won big at the SABC Gospel Awards, taking 6 awards and was crowned the Best Artist. Nathi Mankai, Afro Soul sensation, was crowned King of the 22nd South African Music Awards. They will be missed. Mandoza Kwaito, singer known for his hit song Galagata, lost a battle to cancer. Gugu Zulu, who made motor racing sport popular amongst blacks, passed on while on a goodwill course in Kilimanjaro. Greg Melville Smith, actor, director, writer and voiceover artist, also moved on to the other side.
I hereby revoke all wills.
Nyembezi Kunene, actor, comedian who left South Africans in stitches in all roles he played, is also no more. Sfiso Ncwane, a popular award-winning artist well known for his rendition, Kulungile Baba, yielded to kidney failure.
Now, there was some interesting statistical and economic data that emerged in the first week in December this year, and these included the credit extension figures, new vehicle sales that were again under pressure, and we've also had the trade data on imports and exports for October. In addition, the RMBBR Index of Business Confidence was also published, and then the updated tax statistics bulletin was issued by the National Treasury and SARS. The elephant in the room that was removed was the decision by Moody's and Fitch to leave South Africa's basic investment grading unchanged, yet coupled with some negative warnings on the outlook. Now, this has given South Africa another 6 months, just 6 months, to get our house in order. We were joined by Professor Raymond Parsons of the Northwest University School of Business and Governance in our weekly slot of the economy to give us his perspective earlier this month.
This is familiar ground that we have to traverse every now and again, especially these high-frequency data, which give you some idea of where this economy is going. And I think the weak figures on credit and the motor car sales are telling us we're still bumping along the bottom of the economy. We're into slightly positive growth, but we must understand that there's quite a steep hill we'll have to climb next year. Some of the omens are good, some are not. So it's a mixed picture. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And of course, there are other background noises that will be quite important for how these figures perform. So I would say, really, there's nothing unexpected. It is just confirmation of a weak outlook, which might get better next year.
Let's follow up on the latest export and import trade data. The cumulative deficit for the year narrowed to 14.3 billion rand. That is from 59.9 billion over the same period in 2015. What is the message here, Prof?
I think this is a piece of good news in the sense that over time, our trade deficit, that's our ability to pay our way in the world, basically, has been improving gradually. We see that exports are beginning to respond to the weaker rand over time. Our imports are falling. That, of course, is not such good news. They are, of course, more expensive. But the other part is, if we're not importing capital equipment, it means we're not growing and investing as rapidly as we should. So these are volatile numbers. One mustn't read too much into 1 month. It's also one of those high-frequency data that you have to see unfold over time. But my overall impression is we are nudging towards a narrower, worrying deficit on our trade account, and that's a positive.
Now, we often talk about the fluctuations in the perceptions of business confidence in the country, but what might be the major factors presently driving the levels of business or investor confidence in the country?
Well, why this is important, because among economists we talk about business people's animal spirits. We want them to be up and going, investing, creating jobs. So when we look at the levels of confidence, this is important. And at the moment they are not very strong. And I think what's important here is something we've also discussed, Elvis, before, to draw a distinction between business confidence and investor confidence. Now, business confidence is more of a daily thing. You open your shop, office or factory and you close at the end of the day and you deal with whatever has to be done, even if you're not in a good mood. But the investor confidence is a much more longer term thing. Do I want to expand my factory, office or shop in the future? Do I see the market growing? Do I see the prospects of growth? And do I see policy stability on which I can base my predictable decisions? Now, I think that's the hurdle we still have to jump, and that's why these indices are really quite important when they feed into our assessment of the business mood, and in particular the willingness and the capacity of South African business and indeed foreign business to take a longer view and say, this is an economy we want to invest in and create jobs.
How does business perception and policy uncertainty, how do those juxtapose against each other?
Well, I think really it's like a seesaw in the sense that if there's too much policy uncertainty, then you find that business decisions, but particularly investment decisions, I can't stress that enough. Investment decisions are the ones we have to nurture. And we want them to take a more positive view of South Africa's future. This is also largely what the debate is all about with our credit rating agencies. They too have stipulated that one of the important issues is to give more policy certainty to business people as a basis on which they can invest. And for that, you must understand that uncertainty and confidence are two sides of the same coin.
Now, the latest tax statistics bulletin reveals a number of interesting trends, ranging from the drop in corporate tax take to the fact that tax buoyancy generally seems to still be quite good thanks to tax hikes and improved compliance. On the other hand, the Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, complained in Parliament this week of a lack of accountability and cooperation from SARS. What does this all mean for the main budget, especially 2017 next year?
Well, I think, Elvis, I've been saying, how do we cut the Gordian knot, if I could pun? And this has been going on for some time. What has been announced now is that because of certain perceptions around SARS, the Minister of Finance has asked the Davis Committee to extend its mandate and to look very specifically at the governance of SARS. You know, we've had a very good track record in our tax collection, but some of the recent developments have put a question mark on how sustainable is that, because actually, as we will see, our tax revenues have held up reasonably well within the context of a weak economy. But we ought to be sure that that instrument of tax collection is as efficient as it can be. But that doesn't take away from the important challenges that the Minister of Finance will face in February in the main budget. Although the tax revenues may be looking a little better, once again, how sustainable is it? There is a fiscal gap that is already indicated that has to be met in that budget. As I've indicated to you before, Elvis, in the mini budget, the one shoe dropped about government spending and about how much we can borrow, safely borrow. Now the issue is how much of the gap must you fill with an increase in taxes. I think the important point here is just to bear in mind that 2/3 of the adjustment is supposed to come out of tax. I think that's a little too high. We've got to be very careful that whatever tax decisions we take don't indeed push us from the frying pan into the fire. So I think it's going to be a very interesting prior debate before the budget on what would be the right tax mix for South Africa in say 2017.
Last weekend, we were shocked by some moods by Moody's and Fitch to leave South Africa's basic investment grading unchanged, but it was coupled with negative warnings on the outlook. Of course, they've nonetheless given South Africa another 6 months to get our house in order. But S&P, Standard & Poor, is on our doorstep, and they're going to make that decision tonight, we believe. And we'll know by tomorrow where we stand. Will we be more standard or poor tomorrow, Professor?
I think there's a lot of speculation about that. There are some views that say, well, they may go the same way as, for example, Moody's, have a strong narrative, but stay with the rating, because they don't have much room to maneuver. They are on just one notch above junk status on a negative outlook. So where do they go from there, given what's happened in South Africa in the past few months, both from an economic and a political point of view? There's been both good news and bad news. The second is they are now the third one to report. And just recall that 2 weeks ago, they further downgraded our state-owned enterprise Eskom into junk status further. So it looks as if they're taking quite a strong line. But I think we'll have to wait and see. They may well feel that we should be given some more time. I just want to make the point that we've got to use this time wisely. It's the second or third time that we've had this extension. It is less of a reprieve that it will be a warning, or whatever the decision is. And I also think we've got to reach the point where we take the right decisions and break out of this mold that every 6 months we have an agony session as to what is going to happen, because that's not good for business or investor confidence. We want to see progress be made where you would actually say, I'm looking forward to their visit, not I fear it. And I think if we can get to that level, then I think we've made a lot of progress over the next year or so.
And it's not just about policy certainty, it's also about political certainty, I would imagine. But Professor, we're at the end of 2016. It's been a tough year for South Africa, but there's some ups and downs as well. But finally, in your last interview for 2016, your final thoughts.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Now, let me put it to you in two parts. The one I think I've said before, usually at this time of the year, because we've had a couple of roller coaster years in South Africa, both politically and economically. I would say, I've again sent Father Christmas an email. Please send me a new crystal ball. The one I've got has got rather cracked as a result of all these developments. And when I come back next year, I want to be able to look clearly into that crystal ball. The second is to say to everyone, look, when we come back next year, let's hope each one of us has taken a New Year resolution that we want to make a difference. If we want an economy in which there will be more shared prosperity and, above all, a better year than we've had this year. And if we can do that, then I think we've got a positive message to build on next year.
Professor, Newsroom, myself, would like to thank you for your contributions during the course of the year, and will continue next year with probably more positivity in our economy.
Thanks for the opportunity.
That was Professor Raymond Parsons from the Business School, of course, in the Northwest, giving us the latest, the economist, Professor Raymond Parsons from the Northwest University School of Business and Governance, the SPG. It was indeed a tumultuous year for our economy, and hopefully 2017 will be a much better year. Professor Parsons will join us mid-January again to take up the baton for the next year. Let's now continue. Johannesburg-born rapper Steve Dang, better known by his stage name Young Swiss, is in studio with us today. The young rapper, known for his single David Gennaro, charted at number 6 on the hip-hop charts, Thursday Hot 99, and he is here to tell us about his growing hip-hop career. Young Swiss, a very good morning and warm welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
How would you say in hip-hop, good morning?
What up?
What up? What up, man? Yeah. Tell us, what made you decide to get into hip-hop and being a rapper?
I guess it's something that's always been in me, something I always wanted to do as a kid. I mean, as a little boy, I could already recite like rap lyrics, you know, so it's something I always wanted to do. And at the age of 15, I fell in love with making music. So that's where it all started.
Yeah. How was it for you in the beginning when you started off?
Well, it was tough because of family. You know, family, I don't know if it's a thing about African families, but my dad was not with the whole idea of making music. So it was kind of was a struggle, and because we didn't share the same vision, he wanted me to do something else, something I didn't want to do. So that's where the problem came in.
And what then happened after that? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, when I turned 17, he gave me the choice to either keep doing music or leave his house. And I really loved music, so I decided to go out the house, and I was homeless for like 5 years.
Homeless for 5 years. And how did you get through that in order to become who you are?
I just made friends because every person I played my music to just believed in me.
Yeah?
I believe you're going to be something, so you can stay with me for like a week or two. And then family issues, and then I had to bounce to another couch. It was crazy.
Yeah. Your single, David Gennaro, was very popular. Tell us about that, and how did it come about when you created that particular single?
Well, I've always been a fan of Jamie Bartlett, David Gennaro, the guy I'm talking about. He's a character on the television show Rhythm City. I've always been a big fan of his, so I always wanted to make a song about him. So when I found the right beat at the studio, I was like, let me do this. He's like my alter ego, you know? When I'm on stage, I feel like David Gennaro.
Oh, okay. Now, you also featured one of the biggest hip-hop tracks on the moment, Mayo. Tell us about that. You were talking about, off center, you were talking about some of the stuff that's happening with that one.
Oh, yes. I met DJ Speedster at his show, actually. It was one of these situations, and he really liked me, and he was like, why don't we do a song together? So we did Mayo, and it became the biggest song in the country.
So, if you look at Mayo, does that put a lot of pressure on you in order to progress to the next round, in order to produce a complete single?
I actually like the challenge, you know? I like the challenge. I like how I raise the bar for myself, and now I have to top that. It's very interesting. This is what I love doing, so it's not a problem.
It's a tough industry, so getting into it was not that easy. As you said, you started hustling and you break down some doors until you get there.
That's right.
So where are you now in terms of your career?
Well, I feel like I'm actually at a comfortable space now because I've got a very good team behind me, got good management, things I finally looking up. I just released a project that's doing very well. I mean, I'm talking to you right now. It shows that.
Talk to me about that project.
Oh, Bottom Baby. It's actually my life story in 11 songs.
Yeah?
Like, yes, from the first song to the 11th song, I'm actually telling a story. From where I started and how I ended up here. It's a very interesting project.
It sounds very interesting. And how do you elope through the years and the 11 songs? How do you progress in terms of getting to song 11?
I felt it was actually easy because when you're telling a real story, it's not hard at all because you don't have to think, you don't have to make things up. So I tell the first story about me leaving my dad's house and me sleeping at friends' houses, getting kicked out, my girlfriend cheating on me. It just falls into place. It's magical. I don't know. I feel like I was helped by God, man.
So, what's in the pipeline for Young Swiss?
Well, next year we're doing international features. Definitely want to take it out of the continent now, and I'm dropping 2 videos for my singles from the EP, from the project I just released. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year.
Yeah. Performances, where can people see you?
Oh, 25th, tomorrow we're actually in the VAR. We're doing a show, we're actually doing a celebration party for Mayo, our hit single.
Yes.
And then on the 31st of December, you can find me at Skyline, you can find me in Senton. Follow me on social media, I'll keep you updated.
That's fantastic. You are sitting here today, but it was a hard slog in order to get here. Your advice to youngsters that want to become hip-hop artists and that want to get into the music industry, what would it be?
Well, I believe you can create your own reality. Your life is what you make of it. And if you believe without doubt, you can achieve anything. That's one thing I live by.
Where do they start though?
Well, it starts with the talent. You know, you have to be able to do something. I mean, you can't just believe with nothing to show, you know?
Yes.
So it starts with the talent, and then obviously the work. Work is very important, and the consistency, man, and then the belief.
Do you write your own songs?
Yes, I write every single song. I write for people as well.
Yes. Young Swiss, all the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And Merry Christmas and a happy New Year to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. There you go. That was rapper Steve Dang, better known for his stage name, Young Swiss, in studio with us. Now, isn't that a nice way to end today's show, hey? On a festive note, as you know, 2 days before Christmas. Hope you got your presents. If you didn't, you heard earlier in our program, gave you some advice on what to eat and what not to eat, and what to buy, perhaps some chocolate. Think about it. My name is Elvis Preston. I say, bid you farewell. Your weather is up next. Well, it seems I was too hasty to take a break too soon. We're here now. There's one more performance because we want to put you in that Christmas mood. If you're not already in that festive mood, perhaps Newsroom can change that. Born and raised in Hanover Park in Cape Town, Denzel Erasmus has dazzled his way through South Africa's hotspots, performing with thousands of musicians, both locally and internationally, DJs and even comedians. We are joined in studio by renowned saxophonist Denzel Erasmus. To all of you, we bid you farewell, a Merry Christmas. Ciao for now, arrivederci, Jumbo Africa.
When cell phones get cut off, people say Mdluli was listening. Who are you?
We have to approach Dennis Breitenbach, who was the prosecutor by then.
The DA parliamentarian?
That's correct. The one who was making halabaloo about me.
There are allegations here that you abused the slush fund. What do you say to that?